Is something here, Michael?
No, not yet. We haven't started yet. I'm just getting things situated. So folks, before we get started with public session, I'm just going to call out the names of people who signed up to speak because I don't see most of these people in the attendee list. So if I call out your name and you are in the attendee list, if you can raise your hand to let us know that you're here, that would be appreciated. Emily Mock. If you're on the phone, you use *9 to raise your hand. Again, Emily Mock. Sue Peters. Catherine Bakwarhazen. Apologies for the mispronunciation. Adam Cantor. Cameron Schur. Ryan Laban. James Whitfield. Thought I saw you. Marco Mazzaro. You all signed up to speak in public session, but none of you seem to be here. So we're going to go ahead and start public session with people that I know are here. And
Michael?
Yes.
I know that Emily Mock withdrew her statement.
She did. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. So just a reminder, folks, for those who whom this might be their first meeting, the way public session works is that you'll have 2 minutes to make your comment. You will be timed. There is no back and forth, no question and answer. It's just 2 minutes for you to say what you would like to say. So we're going to start with 2 people who signed up to speak about park issues. And the first is Tommy Loeb.
Hello, thank you, Michael. I'm here to speak about Pier 42. On November 12th, there was a community meeting about Pier 42 at which the EDC presented the latest edifice of what they were planning. And everybody was quite shocked because a lot of people had not seen the plan and people were concerned that almost 40% of the space that's available will be taken up by tennis courts, which will be surrounded by 16-foot fences, basically more than 40% of the area. It seemed ridiculous. It was unanimous. There were more than 40 people on the call, and not one person thought that tennis courts were the highest priority for this community. They also let us know that the Upland Park could be delayed, and they gave us no time source for that because it is the only entrance to the ESCR projected construction sites. So all truck traffic will be coming through Montgomery Street. And they indicated that that could possibly interfere with future construction of the Upland Park. Why this is also important is the only bathroom that is slated to be available for Pier 42, the temporary park, is in the Upland Park, and that's a year away. We've been told there's going to be no bathroom, no water, no shade. How can you have a community facility open, which is supposed to be mitigation for East River Park, and have none of those? We were told, believe it or not, in a $1.45 billion project and a $45 billion temporary use of Pier 42, there was no money for porta sands. This community has to stand up and start pushing back. Our elected officials made a lot of promises, and a lot of them are going by the wayside on this issue. I'm really concerned that there was no resolution out of the Parks Committee on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy. Next speaker is Wendy Bauer. Sorry.
Thank you. I'm a 30-year Lower East Side resident and sustainable design professional. I've been asking NYC EDC to improve access to and care for the public space on Pier 36 for a year. With fresh air and exercise now critical to public health, NYC has pivoted to address COVID and reinforced access to public space with programs like Open Streets. However, the conditions of Pier 36 public spaces have worsened steadily as the need for social distancing has grown, especially by CB3 residents that truly have no place else to go. And as Tommy just said, Pier 42, which is right next door, was presented with an interim recreation designs, current local residents. Things have changed since 2013 when the Upland Park was designed. First, COVID demands fresh air and space to move. The design does not reflect current understanding of climate change, nor the need for shade, restrooms, a green park, and esplanade access. It's the only thing that's going to be open between the Seaport and 26th Street. I especially object to the jail-like fencing, and I've requested a riverside walkway be extended from Pier 42 to Pier 35, giving us a third of a mile of waterfront access. This interim park could be our only riverside access for a decade, yet it leaves the needs of local residents out, as Tommy beautifully described. So to me, it's just part and parcel of how communities, especially lower income community members, are being treated in this community. Notice there's no bike lanes being proposed for below Houston Street, for example. I don't think it's fair. We need access to that space, and it needs to be green space. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Again, members of the public, if you have not signed in yet, please do sign in the chat feature with your name and any affiliation or organization that you are representing. This is for attendance purposes only. And if you filled out a form on the website ahead of time to speak tonight, please make sure that your name matches the name that you filled out on the form so that we know to move you over so that you can make your 2-minute comments. If you are in the attendee list and you did sign up to speak, you can use the raise hand feature to let us know that you're there. It will make it easier for us to find you. So we are going to continue now with some more public speaking. Again, keep in mind the 2-minute limit. And we are going to go to 4 speakers who signed up to speak against item number 8 on the SLA vote sheet. First one will be Marco. Marco?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, just 1 second, sir. Good evening. Sorry, just give me 1 second to organizing here. Good evening. My name is Marco Macero, and like Ryan and James speaking after me, I will be a principal and part of the management team for 120 Orchard. I would like to start this meeting by thanking everyone for their time, especially during a holiday week. The main concern that was brought about from the community board that I would like to address is the uneasiness regarding our experience. Much like James, my partner, who will be speaking after me, I have over a decade worth of experience serving this exact same community. In 2011, I worked up the street at Taqueria Lower East Side, which is located on the exact same street at 198 Orchard. I worked there as a bartender and I left as the manager. In that time, there wasn't a role that I didn't fill. Additionally, I would like to point out that for a very long time, I was also a member of this community. I lived at Delancey and Clinton, which is just up the street from this location. And not only in a management capacity, but also as a neighbor capacity, I feel as if my experience enables me to understand both the needs of the venue and that of the community. And I would just like to thank everyone for their time and pass it along.
Thank you. Are the rest of the people with you? I don't see James or
James is here.
Okay. Does James want to make his comments? Is James on the phone?
He is. He raised his hand in the chat.
Okay.
Ryan Levan is also here, if you can hear me.
Okay, Ryan, why don't you go ahead while we figure out James? Ryan, you've got 2 minutes. Thank you.
Great. Good evening, and thank you to the board for hearing our reconsideration. As you know, the subcommittee has recommended denial of our application for a license at 120 Orchard Bar. we wanted to ask the full board to reconsider on the basis that this is a standard application consistent with the transfer of assets of the prior tenant who had been there with for 6 years as part of an 18-year chain of uninterrupted use in substantially the same method. We also the community board, the licensing committee's proposed stipulation doesn't take into account in insufficient notice the mitigating factors the factors that we took into account while caucusing with the community and the community members over the course of over a month to try and address the perceived problems at the location and try and get out ahead and address any potential issues. We've made many proposals to try and curtail the business program, the business plan, including a robust sound mitigation plan, a traffic mitigation plan, a crowding on the street mitigation plan. We've proposed to put most of our sound down in the basement, which is another buffer, as well as on top of the already existing sound buffering material we have in the ceiling. Additionally, we have we agreed not to operate under a temp license in order to hear out the community. In some, we worked earnestly and in cooperation with the community and community members to try and address the concerns. We don't think that those were properly given shrift in the SLA's resolution, and we'd like to respectfully ask the full board to reconsider. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Ryan. Ryan, do you know is the last 3 digits of James' phone number 693? If somebody can tell me what phone number he's on, I can.
Yeah, let me look it up right now. He is his digits. No, it's 2461 of the last digits of his phone number.
Okay. Cool. I don't have a phone under that. So if, James, if you're on the phone, if you can hit *9 to raise your hand, that's how you need to raise your hand on the phone. And then I'll know it's you. There's only 2 phone numbers and neither one of them matches that. So let's go to Cameron.
Hi, thanks everyone for your time and for giving us the chance to speak on this topic. In addition to the highlights that Ryan had for us, I think I think we really want to highlight how important it is. This is an existing license for quite a bit of time, and we put a lot of effort into mitigating the issues that were raised by the community. In addition to that, as everyone here is aware, we're in a super unique time. COVID has had a incredible impact on this industry, and with most estimates saying 50 to 75% of restaurant, hotel, and nightclub operations going out of business in New York City. So reinvestment in this neighborhood, in Lower Manhattan in general, is critically important right now to the economic recovery. And this type of denial of an existing license by an applicant who is currently licensed in the area, it's very dangerous for future business owners, because it's a risk that most people did not see as being on the books, and it will give real pause to people coming in and making the investments like we're making. And our view is the city and the neighborhood really need folks right now to look at these types of investments and to hire local people in high-paying jobs, and to avoid vacant storefronts in the neighborhood, and all those things that are really closely linked to negative outcomes and poor safety and other bad conditions in the neighborhood. And if we have existing licensees in Community Board 3 who put together good applications and work with the neighbors and are taking over places that have been operating for 17 years, and then they're getting denied by the CB and Community Board, it's one more risk, in addition to COVID, 10 p.m. curfews, higher rents, and all the other challenges facing businesses, that will stop small businesses coming in. And that's not something that's good for the neighborhood.
Thank you, Cameron. All right, James, let's see. There you are, I think. All right, James, you've got 2 minutes. James?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. Hello, everyone. My name is James Whitfield. I will also be a part of the management team and as a principal at 120 Orchard Room. Just a bit about myself. I have roughly 10 years of experience in hospitality in New York. I've worked in nearly every format from fine dining, casual dining, sports bars. I was even the general manager of a bar up the street in the East Village. The last 6 years, though, I've focused mainly as an operator of liquor licenses and hotels. More recently, that time has been spent working with Tao Group, and I've opened some of their venues here in New York as well. One of the main reasons I was brought onto the team here was not only my knowledge of F&B operations, but more importantly, my experience of overseeing food and beverage operations in New York hotels and the skill set Tao Group instills in its management team. I believe my knowledge of running operations in a hotel will help and be an asset to everyone, including the local residents here. One of the main operational focuses when running a bar and a hotel is keeping your hotel guests separate from your bar guests and ensuring an organized and speedy process as well as guests arrive and leave. The idea is to make sure that the hotel guests are not intertwined with your bar guests and we have a smooth transition. It is also important as a Tao management to always maintain a front-facing image of ourselves in the venue. I believe my background in hotels will help tackle some of the issues brought up by the residents and operationally make our new proposed plan work for everyone involved. Just to touch again, one of the concerns of the community board was a lack of experience from our team. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to speak during our time in front of the board, but I'm confident in my abilities as an operator to tackle any issues or concerns the board or residents may have with the 120 Orchard property. I look forward to working with you guys in the future, and I appreciate your time with me this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, James.
You're welcome.
All right, we're going to move on to the next speaker, Adam Cantor. Are you with us, Adam? You're on the phone. Hit *9, Adam. All right. Sandra Strother. Sandra?
I'm here. I'm sorry. I didn't realize I didn't do my official form. Basically, I just want to say thank you to the board for last month and your support in the Grant Street Guild. I'm sorry, I'm the president of the Grant Street Guild Residents Association. And I just want to thank the board for the resolution it wrote in support of our endeavor, the residents' endeavor to protect the future residents and through a forcing management to do acknowledge a memorandum of understanding between the Residents Association and the developer. Last month, I wasn't able to attend. I'm sorry, I fell asleep. I had worked the early elections and then did a few food distribution that day. So I just want to thank my fellow board members, and I want to especially shout out Rodney for adding onto the resolution the need to have the community to assure that the community is used in the construction, giving the community people on the Lower East Side a preference in getting jobs for the construction. Okay, and that's all I want to say. Thank you very much, board.
Thank you, Sandra. Sue Peters, are you with us, Sue? Sue, if you're with us, please raise your hand. If you're on the phone, it's *9. All right. How about Catherine Farkuhausen? Sorry about the name pronunciation. From the CUNY Graduate School. Catherine, are you with us? Okay, guess not. So then the last public speaker is me, taking off my hat as a board member and talking about the taking on my role as president of Friends of Corlears Hook Park. I will taunt myself. Just want to thank everyone that came out for our Halloween event last month. It was very successful. I want to thank Gail Brewer and Carlina Rivera for attending as well. We had over 125 families come through the park with about 250 kids, all in a very safe, social distant way. And it was a wonderful event. And barring any upcoming closures, we will be doing 2 more events in the coming weekends. This weekend, Sunday, November 29th, we'll have our annual fall leaf rake up event from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Where we will be raking up and bagging the leaves and bringing them over to the Lower East Side Ecology Center for composting. So if you feel like getting your hands dirty on Sunday and working off some of that turkey meal, come on out to Port Elizabeth Park. And then the following Sunday, December 6th, from 4 to 5 p.m., we will be having our holiday event and tree lighting event. So we'll have a tree in the park again this year. We have lots of giveaways to give the kids. Again, we'll be following all COVID protocols for both of the events, taking people's temperatures, requiring masks and social distancing. So more information is on our website, friendsofportlears.org, and I hope to see some of you there. Thank you very much. So that will close our public speaking portion unless any of the 3 people who I called on have magically appeared. So we are going to move to our elected reports. And just a reminder again, for anyone who might be new to attending a full board meeting, during the elected reports, questions are taken only from community board members to the elected officials and or their reps. Again, with the reps, we will be timing you to 2 minutes, so please keep it brief. For the elected officials, we will not be timing you, but we still ask you to keep it brief. I see our borough president is on. Gail, would you like to go first, or do you want to listen in first?
I'll be quick if you don't mind, because I got 4 community boards tonight. Michael, thank you.
No problem.
And I loved the Halloween event. I have to say I went to a lot, but the 2 girls, they are twins, who were post officials, USPS post officials, in their costume. And then they pulled out, this was before the election, a little mail, because they had a mail pouch and it said vote. So it was very fabulous. So congratulations. There were many great costumes, but they were phenomenal. So thank you. So just in terms of community board applications, obviously February 1st at 5 o'clock is the deadline for those who are reapplying, and I hope everybody is, and for those who are applying for the first time. Second, even though it seems like budget is far away for 22, it's not. And so we're having sessions for the communities that want to apply. We're not going to have a lot of money this year. I'll tell you that right now, because it's all based on what the city's capital budget is. We get a percentage each borough president. So I know the mayor is not going to be spending as much. So we're also going to be finishing up projects so that as my last year, it doesn't wait for the future. Just FYI. In terms of the schools, we try to give as much money to the schools as possible. It's December 8th in terms of an information session. The actual material application is not due till February. But the December 8th at 4 o'clock to get information, and on the borough president's website, you can figure out how to sign on. And for nonprofits like culturals and others, it's December 10th at 11 o'clock, FYI. I just want to talk about the schools in terms of how angry I am. I think I mentioned this before, but it doesn't get a lot better. So we always put in a lot of money, as parents know and principals know, for technology and everything else. It's public schools. If you apply, we will find a way to get you money. So we did that 2020. We're now a year and a half out of that time. And we still have not been able to spend the money because we managed to get something called Directive 10, which was a memorandum out of the controller's office that says you have to have basically carts, and they have to come out of the closet, and they can't leave the school, and it has to be networked, and it has to be available for 5 years. We got rid of all that because I want people to have a laptop or a Chromebook like everybody else in the United States. So we got rid of that, fine, but guess what? Between SCA, School Construction Authority, and DOE, they came up with more challenges. So DOE basically said today that they are supposedly working on it. This is a memorandum that came in today stating that, since they had so many problems in September, and now they've reached out to 650 schools that receive funding, and they're trying to figure out how to spend it and so on and so forth. It makes me nuts. So we are not giving up. We are still pushing. And then the next hurdle, the SCA said, oh, by the way, the school has to pay for insurance, and the school has to pay for a cover for the device. So no, that should be paid for by the Reso A money. All right, so I'm just fighting about that. And I will continue because you know better than I how many kids do not have a device. Been talking about this for years and years. In terms of 70 Mulberry, which you are only too familiar with, I have to say that in my experience of working with facilitators, these facilitators are very good. And, you know, they got a gazillion different perspectives, but I think they've been fair, they've been transparent. And that's my experience in listening to many of the participatory discussions. One thing that I'm working on is making sure that where is the $80 million in the budget? Literally, where is it listed? So just so you know, I'm like a dog with a bone when you give me a task, and I am going to find that $80 million. But there's many other aspects of the building, and I'm aware of it. I want to thank excellent testimony from the community. I know that Pier 42, there's a lot of discussions. I know that there's been redesigned, but the community listened to a lot more, and I will do that. In terms of ESCRA and Coast Resiliency Project, the same issue of Lower East Side Ecology Center still needs support, and we are working on that. I think you know better than I, but just so you know, I will not give up with their compost or with anything else that Christina and staff need. I also want to thank Community Board 3 and Councilmember Rivera because we're working on the Catholic Church properties, of which there are several in District 3, to figure out how much maximum affordable housing, open space, and things that you want. And we did have a discussion. We're going to have more, and we'd be glad to share that at a different time. But just so you know, certainly working with Val, with Cooper Square, with the council member, community board. There's a lot of work to be done there. And congratulations on never forgetting any of this as a community. I also, we're working on Play-Doh Bar. I can't say that we've been successful, but I love the owner. There are several situations where between the city bike or hydrant, the restaurant cannot have outdoor dining, and it's horrible for the individual who runs the restaurant. So we're trying. I can't say I've been 100% successful. I will say every single day I get a problem with public space. I think I mentioned that the Municipal Arts Society, the Times Square Alliance, everybody's calling for a public realms. There are 21 agencies, as I have said before, working in the streets. Just to give an example, you got the issues of sanitation and small business and the health department and the buildings department and the homeless department and the school and the SCR, the State Liquor Authority, and the list goes on. I had one the other day where this restaurant wants to build like a structure. It looks too much like a scaffolding, even though it's in the parking space. So DOB said, no, you gotta talk to each other. So just so you know, that is not something that anybody should give up on. Childcare slots, we're still focused on. 550 of them were pulled out of Manhattan to go to the other boroughs, one in Chinatown in particular, a lot in Chinatown, as well as other locations. So we're making a huge fuss about it. Hamilton, Madison has been phenomenal. Chinese Planning Council, CPC, and others, because all we're getting from the city and DOE is 3K. That doesn't work. You have to have after school, and we cannot get hurt by not having Head Start. So I'll leave it like that to say we're not giving up on that one either. So many fights. We're also meeting pretty regularly with everybody who is an expert in housing that's affordable, trying to come up with a task force that would make sense. Probably not for this mayor. He did put back the money that was cut. Over $450 million was cut in the budget originally for capital, for affordable housing. That is now back, but it's not clear to me exactly what it is going to fulfill in terms of those projects that are in the pipeline. Thank you very much, Board 3. Congratulations on everything that you're working on. I know it's a lot. And happy Thanksgiving. We're all hoping that we don't become yellow, we don't become orange. I was out in the yellow zone uptown yesterday, today. I'll be there tomorrow with the health department and others trying to get people to wear a mask, not congregate. And we do not want to be orange, because I particularly, and you also, spent a lot of time getting the barbershops, the hair salons, the nail salons, and the quote unquote non-essentials open. And it would be a disaster to have them closed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gail. Again, community board members, if you have questions, if you can use the raise hand function, I would appreciate it. We have one question, Gail, so far from Trevor Holland.
Yes. Hi, Trevor.
Hi, Gail. Thank you for all you do. I don't really have a question, just to thank you. And that's speaking as a community member and someone who lives in Two Bridges. On Monday, the appellate court obviously didn't further the case that you had with the city council. However, I see that you're going to take it directly to the Court of Appeals. So I just want to thank you for continuing the fight. There's a lot going on in Two Bridges and along the waterfront. And as a resident, we really appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you, Trevor. Damaris Reyes, question?
Yeah, hi, Gail. Thank you for all the work that you're doing on behalf of our community and our wonderful borough of Manhattan. I really appreciate you. I was hoping that maybe you can elaborate a little bit about this housing task force and exactly how members of the task force are being chosen.
Sure. It's focused, to be honest with you, it's not focused on NYCHA. You're welcome to join us. It's mostly what we'll do is like have a topic, like one of the topics recently is there's nothing good about this COVID, but one thing is we have in the city of New York, as you probably know, 700 hotels. I think it's 60, I could be wrong, that have either homeless or some tourists, not a lot. So then we say, okay, so we should be able to purchase some of those hotels for affordable housing. That's an example of what we discuss. We also look, it's mostly like development and not tenant. We did, we're all focused on tenants. We did a discussion last night with tenant rights, and I know you do that all the time. It's also the issue of looking at some of the data that the Furman Center has as an example. It's looking at artist housing. I get told New York City can't do artist housing. I don't want to hear that. I don't believe it. We did some in East Harlem with Melissa, to her credit. It's looking at, obviously, it gets into the AMI a little bit, but you can't even build the stuff in Manhattan. So why are we even talking about AMI? It's looking at supportive housing and the conversion of the single room occupancies. It's that kind of thing, Damaris, but I'd be glad to bring you up to date. It's kind of like big picture, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, and just for the record, Gail, we don't only focus on public housing.
No, I know, but I'm just saying it's big picture, and I'd be glad to bring you up to date and get your input.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. That was the last question. Appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you.
All right, I think we have 3 other elected officials on. I see Assemblymember Harvey Epstein, State Senator Brad Hoyleman, and State Senator Brian Kavanaugh. If there's any other elected officials on, please raise your hand to let me know. In the meantime, we will go to Assemblymember Harvey Epstein.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's having a good holiday. Thank you, Aura, who's my Deputy Chief of Staff, to put our newsletter in the report. And it's obviously, like everyone knows, we are in difficult times with COVID, and we're doing the best we can. Today, we were able to work with our community groups, with our local elected officials, and give out turkeys throughout the district. I think we gave out over 700. It was a really impressive effort, but with our senators and council colleagues and Congress people, really a good day. Likely that we're going to go back to Albany. We'll go back to Albany in the next couple of weeks, just because we need to do high income earner tax. So if you have a moment, you want to talk to your state elected officials and your governor. We should tax the wealthy right now. We need revenue, not cuts. The $4 billion in cuts that we're seeing coming down the pike, the cuts are specifically going to nonprofits and social service providers, and that's hurting so many low-income New Yorkers that in the middle of a pandemic, we can cut resources, make 0 sense, especially the resources that help. Like less resources for our staff is not good. Less resources for the nonprofits that's serving our community, it's not good. It is really a mistake in leadership, and I encourage you all to say the same message to the governor. Recently, HCR, the housing office, Brian can talk more about this because he's really in tune with this. released a report about our rent relief for tenants, and we allocated $100 million, and HCR has failed to distribute less than 40 million of it. So tenants who are struggling, 1.4 million tenants are behind on their rent, and we're not even giving out the $100 million that we allocated. So we really need a real rent relief package, including cancel rent, eviction moratorium, a real comprehensive plan. And I'll say that we have really an opportunity before the end of the year when we go back, hopefully, to vote on the revenue to do some serious criminal justice reform. We have people who are incarcerated, who are at risk of illness and dying. States around the country are doing clemency. We've seen that in every large state, from California to New Jersey, Massachusetts. And unfortunately, New York lags far behind, and we're not doing clemency for folks who have been incarcerated. The data is really good that people who have been in prison for 15 years or longer, you know, and over 55 are unlikely to be recidivist. There's less than 5% recidivism rate. But with those people are now being locked up, costing us, you know, each over $100,000 in prison, and the risk of them dying is even higher because of COVID. So we're trying to have the governor grant clemency as much as possible, and also to let people go who have been incarcerated. And so if people are online with doing that, I think we have real opportunity. Finally, the supermajority, both in the Assembly and the Senate, we saw this week that we have that in both the houses of the legislature. So it's a message that I think we should take home, was like the progressive approach of reforming our bail system, repealing 50A, housing support for tenants. The voters went to the polls this November and supported all that approach. And so now we have the opportunity to further elaborate on those things that we fought for over the last year and a half. And I hope that you will join me and my Senate colleagues to make sure that happens. Thank you. And if you have a question, I'm happy to take it. But the message, hopefully you'll all walk away with, is that we need revenue, not cuts, and share that with the governor.
Thanks, Harvey. We have a couple of questions for you. Michelle Cooper-Smith.
Hi, sorry. Thank you for being here. I have a question. You mentioned the $100 million in rent relief that was allocated, but I believe it's actually like 60 million that hasn't been distributed. And a reporter asked Governor Cuomo about this earlier in the week, and his Melissa DeRosa said that it was the legislature's responsibility to come back and reset the stipulations, because apparently, I mean, maybe the applications didn't fit the requirements. So I guess my two questions are: A, is that true? Is the legislature the only one that can fix it? And B, will you be fixing it so that the money is fully distributed? Because there's a deadline of December 30th for using it. Thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, for the $100 million, we spent less than 40 of it, which means there's over 60 left. And I think there's two things. One is 93,000 people applied. They have failed to, even in this report they released 2 weeks ago, process over 11,000 applications. So that's a real problem. Two, I agree that with the governor that the program was too restrictive, and we need to have much more expansive program. And I think everyone on the Assembly and the Senate really wants a more robust program. And it was unfortunate it was such a restrictive program, but that doesn't absolve the governor's responsibility of advertising it to the 1.4 million tenants who are behind in their rent, and to make a program that was simple. That was really, the application process was extremely complicated. So I think the legislature built an hour program because we only had 100 million. We wanted to have 500 million, but the governor only wanted to have 30. So we created a more restrictive program because the governor wanted less money. And I think we should have a much more robust program with more opportunities for our people to apply. So we can just say it's on responsibility of the legislature, and we will make a more robust program, but it's really his responsibility to help tenants. And it's his actions that created the most restrictive program that we could pass.
Thank you, Assembly Member. Next question is from Kay Webster.
Hi, Harvey. How are you?
Good, Kay.
I wanted to ask you about, there's a bill, a health equity assessment bill that's going forward that Senator Rivera and Assemblyman Gottfried have put forward, which is really trying to require a health equity assessment before a certificate of need can be given to a hospital or nursing home for transfer, downsize, or whatever, or closing. And I'm just wondering if you have thoughts about that. And also in particular, because Democrats have a majority, that there might be a shot at actually getting more seats for consumers on the Public Health and Health Planning Council, which determines who actually decides who owns things and in terms of the health facilities. And I know Stanford just did a survey that said that over half of all people who died in hospitals were Black or Hispanic. And then there's many other inequities, women, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I have the same question for Senator Hoylman, Kavanaugh, Assemblymember Glick. So I don't waste time asking again. But if you've looked at it, thought about it, would love to hear.
Yeah, just on the hospital issue, as you probably know, I was out front when, Mount Sinai has been trying to close Beth Israel. I was opposed to the closing. We wrote that we wanted more beds, not less beds in our community. We have been working on getting more people on the board. I think Senator Hoylman and I wrote a letter maybe 6 months ago or a year ago, trying to get better representation on the board. I've worked with health advocates that we really want to have a robust oversight and really not allow this closures to move forward. So that's clear. On the bill that the Godfrey bill, I'm not 100% sure I've looked at it. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but I really trust Assemblymember Godfrey, who knows, been chair of the health committee for decades and those issues inside and out. And I 100% agree that, that we need a more robust oversight and we need a better healthcare system. Obviously, we need the New York Health Act passed, and I think we have the power to do that this year, even if the governor opposes us. So there's a lot we can do right now on healthcare, a lot we can do on criminal justice reform, a lot what we can do on the environment, and we just need to step forward and just do all those things.
Yes, thank you. And you know that Mount Sinai is now reconsidering, I'm sure you know.
Yeah, because we were right and they were wrong.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblymember. That was our last question for you. Have a good.
Thank you, and have a good holiday, everyone. Enjoy it. And what the borough president said about Ecology Center, I forgot to say, 100% in. We need to save it, for our community.
Thank you. I believe Senator Kavanaugh might have dropped off, so we'll go to Senator Hoylman.
Always happy to fill in when Senator Kavanaugh drops off.
And I am here, so I
am.
Okay.
But
go ahead, Brad. So be nice about me, though.
I will. And Brian has done amazing work in the housing area. We all know that. So suffice to say that our conference is looking at that very issue that Harvey was asked about, the 100 million, the 40 million unspent. And of course it can be, that money could be sent out the door by executive order. Albany doesn't need to reconvene to get tenant that relief, but we're having meetings about that very issue between the governor and the Senate conference. But I want to just talk about a few things briefly. One is that pursuant to the last question about, I'll answer that first. The legislation that I passed with Assemblymember Godfrey to increase consumer representation on the Public Health and Health Planning Council, because right now it is far easier to close hospitals than it is to open a hospital. And we need more consumer representatives, and that's what the bill that Assemblymember Godfrey and I passed does. It adds 3 consumer representatives to that council, FIPIC it's called. It's sitting on the governor's desk. We're negotiating possibly some chapter amendments, but I'm hopeful that we can get that bill signed, because we have seen that closing hospitals is bad for everyone. And I'm glad that Beth Israel is rethinking that strategy at the insistence of the community. Secondly, wanted you to know that I participated in a vaccine trial. I am a pro-vaccine legislator, I think many of you know, and what we're needing, though, to look at is when we do have all these vaccines, how do we get them distributed, and what's going to be the priority, and how do seniors and our vulnerable populations get them? And I'm hopeful that we can work out a plan and have some public participation on that. But I just wanted to know that's top of mind for me. I wanted you also to know, third, is that a bill that I passed in the legislature that allows you to easily cancel your gym membership online was signed by the governor. It's going to also crack down on businesses that mislead consumers through very convoluted automatic renewal or continuous service schemes, where they say free trial, but they don't tell you that you're automatically signed up for life. Basically, long and short, it's going to give the Attorney General new powers to crack down on those types of consumer frauds, which is really necessary, particularly during this pandemic. The governor also signed another bill of mine, fourth item, which is a bill that restricts so-called strategic lawsuits against public participation, or SLAPP lawsuits. Those are lawsuits that are often filed by rich and powerful entities or individuals like real estate interests or Donald Trump, who has sued a range of people to try to get them to shut up in their criticism of him. Everyone ranging from Bill Maher to Miss America. These lawsuits, have blossomed, and they're often used to target not just critics, but advocates like our own Michael McKee from Tenants PAC, who was sued for $40 million by the Rent Stabilization Association because he dared to speak out in support of the new rent laws at City Hall. This new law is going to allow the plaintiffs, it's going to require that the plaintiffs pay the defendants' fees if they lose a lawsuit and the judge determines that it was being used to silence them. I had a press conference on that recently. I've also proposed legislation that we're calling the Pandemic Self-Storage Act. That would prevent self-storage unit auctions from occurring across New York State during the pandemic. And this is really top of mind because just this afternoon, a constituent called and her personal possessions are going to be on the block tomorrow at 11 a.m. Due to a self-storage company that is auctioning them off. We've issued a very firm statement. We hope that the storage unit operator rethinks this, but we need this bill to be passed because it's crazy. It's also incredibly heartless to do this on the day before Thanksgiving. Not to mention the fact this woman, a senior, her personal possessions and her small business items are going to be sold off tomorrow unless we can stop it. So I'll keep you updated on that. And then a lot of other items in my newsletter that you can read. I wanted to acknowledge my colleague, Caroline Wexelbaum, who many of you know, and I think Jacob Priley, my other colleague, is on substituting for Caroline. But I proposed a bill that would crack down on illegal street racing. I know we've experienced that in this neighborhood and across the entire city. We're calling it the Furious Act, named after that classic film, Fast and Furious. But it's going to authorize New York City to operate its speed camera program, both overnight and on weekends, to catch some of these jackasses, which is what I can call them, who are making it less safe and keeping us up at night. As well as change the definition of what illegal street racing is. Right now, the statute requires you to actually sit down and plan your route in advance in order to be charged with this infraction. That's crazy. Nobody sits down and plans the speed racing route, so it would be impossible to charge anyone with that. But so we're going to try to change that. And then finally, a bill that I'm very proud of called the Restoration of Honor Act went into effect just on November 12th. And what it's going to do is restore benefits to veterans who were discharged by virtue of their sexual orientation or gender identity under Don't Ask, Don't Tell. I'm very proud that we have fixed that stain on our nation's veteran history through this law. I hope we can pass it at the federal level, because there are a lot of federal benefits that these individuals have been denied too. Thank you very much. Happy to take any questions or hand it over to my esteemed colleague, Brian Kavanaugh, to answer all the questions.
Well, before we do that, we have one question for you so far from Michelle Cooper-Smith.
Hi.
Hi, Senator Hoyland. Thank you for proactively answering my question about the unspent rent relief. It's been top of mind. I was on the Soho NoHo rezoning meeting a couple of weeks ago. I believe it was October 26th. And I was just wondering if you would be willing to explain your comment about how you thought that the rezoning was the equivalent to the Amy Coney Barrett of rezonings. I mean, just from my perspective, BDB has a lot more time in office than Trump, and it's a little bit of a different impact. So I just was hoping that you could explain that, because I was on it. So thank you.
Sure. It was a bit of a flip comment. I will acknowledge that. My point is that this is a complicated rezoning and time is running out. And the mayor's losing staff left, right, and center. Polly Trottenberg, one of his greatest assets, just is stepping down this month. So to be very honest, I think public confidence in the de Blasio administration is on the wane. So I think it's something we have to consider. That doesn't mean that—
This David Duncan guy.
that doesn't mean that we can't, figure this out together as a community. If we can understand a few principles, which is height restrictions, maximizing affordable housing, and protecting the historic district, as well as not bleeding into other neighborhoods through gentrification. So there's a lot to unpack in this proposal. I'll be coming out with my ideas. I'll be working closely with Senator Kavanaugh and Councilmember Rivera, in particular. With Councilmember Rivera and I actually share part of the NoHo district. So the comment was flip. I thought clever, but maybe not as funny once I said it.
Thank you, Senator Hoyleman. Appreciate it. Senator Kavanaugh, I have to apologize. I looked for your name under B for Brian, but you changed your name to Senator Kavanaugh. So next time I'll look under S.
Thank you. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what algorithm decided that's how I get labeled by this. And I appreciate Senator Hoyleman's commentary on his humor. I want to question his taste in movies from his earlier commentary, because I've seen Fast and Furious, and it ain't no classic. Jackass, never mind. I'm gonna move on from the movie theme. Let me just first of all, I want to join those who mentioned we've had election day since the last time we were all together, and I first of all, appreciate the great opportunity to continue to serve this community along with my great colleagues, several of whom you've heard from tonight. And just to note that it is, I think, a remarkable thing that after an extraordinarily active and very proactive session, that we seem to be, the voters of the statewide voters seem to be returning nearly all of the incumbent Democrats. There are still a few races that are out there, plus adding a few to our majority. We look like we're going to have 42 or 43 of the seats as the Democratic majority in a 63 seat Senate. So just, again, I know this is a nonpartisan setting, but just in terms of the sort of the direction that we're going, I think, we're likely to see continued kind of robust representation in our majority, and of course, joining our assembly colleagues as well. Just on the housing thing, I think we've covered this pretty thoroughly already, my colleagues, but the $100 million emergency rent relief program, it is, I think, in my view, critical that we ensure that that $100 million gets spent for the purpose that we intended it for, which is to provide rent relief. And there are various routes to doing that, including a gubernatorial executive order, or the legislature could act, and there is some possibility that HCR, the housing agency, could just make some administrative changes that might get additional money out the door. But I also do want to emphasize that in its best version, it is a tiny fraction of the need. I think I've said this on this call before, but our push at the federal level is for $10 billion with a B. That is 100 times as much as $100 million. So although we will be focusing on ensuring that money get out the door, it's kind of a unfinished business for 2020. We really are looking ahead to try to ensure that we get the resources in place to address the much broader rental housing crisis, to ensure that this public health crisis does not become a kind of eviction and homelessness crisis. We know that those were already serious problems before COVID, and we certainly don't want people to be stuck with either giant arrears or certainly not evictions. And Senator Hoylman's bill, the Tenant Safe Harbor Act, has provided some real protections as well, but there's a lot more work to be done. Second, just critical housing issue at the moment is the status of the eviction moratorium. Senator Hoylman and I and a lot of our colleagues had joined together right in the very beginning of the pandemic to insist that there be a complete moratorium on residential evictions. And we obtained that early on for the first 90 days until June 20th. There have been modifications since then. There's been a number of phases of this, and I'll spare you the details. But the current status is that the eviction moratorium is not comprehensive enough to prevent residential evictions. Most tenants will be protected. If you have a hardship and the basis for your eviction is non-payment of rent, you're supposed to not be subject to eviction. But we are pushing for a blanket moratorium to be back in place, especially as our numbers go up in New York and in New York City and around the state on COVID. So again, this is primarily been a function of the governor's executive order authority and some administrative orders from the courts, but either legislatively or through pressure on the governor to address that. We really must achieve that to ensure that we don't have evictions. And again, they are beginning in limited ways, but that's going to grow over time. And so that's really urgent. I know you have a long agenda and we've covered a lot of ground tonight. I don't want to cover stuff that other people talked about. Just a couple local issues. We've got we're working collaboratively with my colleagues and with Cooper Square Committee and others at 174 Forsyth Street, which is a building that it's a HUD funded building that is housing folks with hearing challenges, and the conditions there are very poor, and we've been working to try to address that, working with Nydia Velasquez and all of our colleagues, Yulene and Margaret Shin's offices as well, and Gail's office has been involved. And we also, we've seen a number of instances where there have been gatherings. Obviously we've all been working on trying to get the balance right with nightlife and make sure it's not, that restaurants have ability to function, but not imposing, undue quality of life concerns on our communities. But we've also seen instances where there are private gatherings, including rooftops. And so my colleagues, especially Councilmember Rivera and Assemblymember Epstein and I have written to the management of some buildings on East 2nd and East 3rd Street. It was a site where somebody actually tragically fell and miraculously survived, without apparently very serious injury from the rooftop. But we are trying to get, landlords to be responsible about what's going on in public areas of their buildings. So that's something that, I think there should be a copy of that in the materials we're providing. I think I know you have a long meeting ahead and you've heard a lot from state reps. I think I will end there. I am happy to take questions and concerns.
Thank you, Senator Kavanaugh. We've got a question from Kay Webster.
Hi, Senator Kavanaugh. Thank you for your report. And I too want to echo that I love Senator Hoylman admitting that it wasn't the best joke, but we've all done that. So I want to ask you also about the health equity assessment bill and the FIPIC question, because the lack of representation, you know, the results, you know, knew it with Rivington, you knew it with Beth Israel. But also as COVID rises, I'm not sure that we've really tackled what's happened in nursing homes, and it looks like we're in jeopardy again. And the downsizing, the elimination of hospitals in Queens really caused that community to go under. Same with the Bronx. And Manhattan is in danger of parts of it becoming overbedded. And as you know, our community also is in danger of losing something, although Mount Sinai has rethought. But I don't think we want to leave it up to these hospital systems. So
yeah, no, I think that we have, you and I have had various versions of this conversation before, but I think we were always told that, they're right sizing our system and, we don't need all this capacity. And obviously, certainly we learned in March and April and May that, not having capacity is critical. And certainly, the results, the impact of COVID was, a very good example of very disparate impacts depending on where you lived. And so the bill you're talking about, I think was introduced just in October. And I have, this is the Senator Rivera and Senator Gottfried's bill. I'll say it looks good to me. It looks logical to me. I haven't, my name's not on it yet. I will take a closer look, but I have seen it. And, for those who aren't familiar, it basically requires a health equity assessment as part of the process for constructing new facilities or reducing or eliminating them. So it certainly seems like a smart, sensible approach to me, and I will probably put my name on it soon, but I'll take a closer look before I commit to that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and making sure FIPIC is properly responsive and representative is really important too.
Thank you, Senator. We have another question from Eric Diaz.
Hello, can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Senator Kavanaugh. I wanted to say that I'm heartened to hear about the 174 foresight. Is there any specific details or any kind of plans? I know you may have mentioned it. I just want to make sure I heard it and understood it, and to let you know that we're supporting 174 foresight as well.
Yep.
And just want to hear more. And thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to get. It feels like an issue where we need additional oversight for the landlord. It's not. It's a matter of poor conditions, poor maintenance, limited access to the spaces in the building that are supposed to be common spaces that are available, inadequate communication with tenants and respect for tenants, and just some poor conditions. So we walked through it. We had a press event in front of the building, but we're in the process. And again, I don't know if Congressman Velasquez is represented here, but her office has been instrumental in reaching out to HUD and pushing for, a more. This has been something that's come up in the last couple of weeks. We're pushing aggressively, and I know you guys have been involved there as well, and there have been some other good local organizations that have also had some involvement there. But we're getting everybody together. We'll stay in touch with you about it, and I don't have any specific update other than to say we're on top of it, and we're going to make sure that the tenants get better conditions and better outcomes.
Thank you so much, Senator Kavanaugh, and yes, please continue to move forward. Good fight. Thank you.
Great.
They need it.
Yep.
Thank you, Eric. Senator, we have one last question for you from our chair, Alicia Lewis-Coleman.
Hi, Senator Kavanaugh, thank you for coming out tonight, and happy holidays to you and your family. I also wanted to piggyback on what Eric just said about 174 Forsyth Street. These residents have really gone through for a very, very long time, and there are no social workers on staff there. And I think it is very important, not just for 174, but the building that's right next door to it as well. They're both represented by the same management company, and no one has reached out to help them. So, I mean, I'm glad that you are a part of the organization of helping to reorganize the residents. They don't know how to organize themselves. So any help that could happen there around organization, if there are local community-based organizations that could help them, because they are a very special group of people, and they are my neighbors, and I love them very much. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that very much. And again, I mentioned Cooper Square Committee has also been involved in organizing, and I think, but we'll stay in touch with you as well about that. And I appreciate the the support for that effort here at the board.
Can I just say that, just add, because it's part of the Sarah Roosevelt Park, is that a lot of the issues of why they can't easily organize, and they're actually, some of them do, is interpretation. There's no signing. Every time we have a meeting, we've had to have volunteers. So if we could have somehow signers assigned to every meeting we have, we used to do it here, it would be huge in terms of not being marginalized. So thank you, Senator.
That's a very good point as well. And we did have volunteers at the press event we did as well, but we'll keep working on it. Yes.
Thank you, Senator. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Thank you, everybody. Same to all of you, and be safe.
Thank you. All right, I do not see any other elected officials on, so we're going to go to the representative reports. Reminder, keep it brief, 2 minutes. I'm going to try not to use the timer, but if people start going over, I will turn the timer on. Is Andrew from Mayor de Blasio's office on, or Philip from Public Advocate Jumani Williams' office? All right, then we're going to go to Luke Wolf from the Comptroller's office. Luke?
Everyone, nice to see you all, and wish you all happy Thanksgiving later this week. So a few updates from our office I want to share. And the first about our response to the COVID health crisis. So at the start of the pandemic, the Comptroller launched an investigation into how the city responded in those early days and weeks, and asked for documents and information from all the city agencies who are relevant to the pandemic, figuring out what happened, what went right, and what went wrong. After being continually stonewalled, and to this day have only received, have not received a single document from City Hall. Last week, we actually took the administration to court to try to get them to comply with our subpoena and actually follow through on that investigation. Our goal here is to figure out what happened in those early days and weeks. So now as the second wave is coming and we deal with this in the coming months, we can make sure we can help give recommendations to tailor our public health response to our needs. So we'll continue to push on that and make sure that our city is responding as effectively and efficiently as possible to the health pandemic. Second, the Comptroller put out an op-ed on a topic which I know is very important to CB3, which is on police accountability. So he put out a few recommendations on how to reform and strengthen the CCRB. The first would be granting the CCRB the power to make final disciplinary decisions, which is something they currently do not have in their advisory role. The second would be removing the NYPD Office of Trials, which currently reviews most of the serious CCRB cases, and instead putting that jurisdiction with the CCRB. And the last is further expanding their jurisdiction and powers to make sure they can have real accountability for when there is inappropriate action by police officers. So I can drop that link in the chat for everyone to review, but that is just the start of a plan to make sure that we're holding everyone accountable. And the last thing I really want to touch upon is on remote learning. We have been working hard on proposals to close the digital divide. There are currently 100,000 students without Wi-Fi access across our city, 13,000 students across shelters. We put out plans to one, close the digital divide for those 100,000 students, but also focusing on the students in shelters as well, especially when all students are learning remotely now all of the time. We really need to make sure that they have access to education. And right now that means access to internet and the tools of technology to go with it. So I'll drop links to the chat as well as my email, but happy to take any questions on those few things I brought up.
Thank you, Luke. Are there any questions for the Comptroller's office from board members? All right, I think we're good, Luke. Thank you. Have a good holiday.
Thanks for seeing everybody.
Congresswoman, Congressmember Nydia Velazquez's office, Ling Shaw.
Hi everyone. Congresswoman Velazquez wish everybody a great Thanksgiving holiday. Today she was, she's been busy going around distributing turkeys for those community members who are less fortunate, and then tomorrow's going to be another turkey day. Just as Senator Kavanaugh mentioned, Congresswoman Congresswoman Velasquez has been doing a great deal of work putting pressure on NYCHA to come up with a plan to improve their COVID preparedness and the response to keep residents safe. As winter coming up, people are spending more time outdoors, and it's unacceptable that some of the conditions in some of the buildings, along with the recent lead reports, she and Senator Gillibrand have joined forces together to put pressure on NYCHA. And a congresswoman was on the ground of 174 Forsyth Street last week to visit the ground and then to get firsthand information from the residents and the management. And that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Lingsha. Any questions for the Congressmember's office? All right, don't see any. Thank you, Lingsha. Have a good holiday.
You too.
Victor from Carolyn Maloney's office. Are you with us tonight, Victor? Or anybody from Carolyn Maloney's office? All right, we're going to go to Shivani from Eulene's office.
Hi, everyone. I will keep it pretty short. Tonight, the assembly member also has been out and about a lot recently delivering turkeys, and tomorrow she'll be delivering hot meals. So that's been a big focus of this week, and, logistically figuring that all out. The other thing that she's been really focused on is the committee meetings for 70 Mulberry. She continues to really prioritize and make known that we need to have community engagement, and she'll continue to be involved and push for as much community engagement as possible moving forward with that. She is also, our office has received a lot of complaints about heat and gas and hot water outages in NYCHA. So that's something that she also is continuing to communicate with NYCHA about, like figure out whatever she can do to help residents. And then finally, just continue to PPE and food distribution. As I say every single month, I feel like I sound like a broken record, but if you need PPE or you know of anyone who does, please feel free to reach out to our office. And I think that's all I have.
Thank you, Shivani. Any questions? All right, have a good night, Shivani.
Thank you too.
Charlie Anderson from Deborah Glick's office.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Charlie Anderson from Deborah Glick's office. I'm going to echo the same comments as my colleague Shivani. The assembly member has been out over the last few months, earlier this month as well, delivering PPE and other items to some of our local community partners. I have one update this evening, and then I will be done. As you all know, in 2019, the state legislature changed election laws that allow for early voting this year, and this was the first year that the state of New York did this. On December 9th, from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m., the New York City Voter Assistance Advisory Committee is going to be holding a hearing to gather feedback on early voting throughout this year. If you have comments, anything you wish to share, talk about your experience and so on, I would encourage you to participate in that hearing and share testimony. I believe you can do it either in person, not in person, obviously, but over Zoom, be able to read your testimony, or you can submit comments as well. All that information is going to go to the elected officials, including your state elected officials, and they'll be able to hear that. I will drop the link to that meeting in the chat here. I believe on our board report, the link might be dead, but you can, I'm sorry about that, that's my fault, but you can always copy that link, search it in Google and find the correct one, but it will be corrected in our end of the month e-blast as well. That's the only thing I was going to mention tonight. Unless there are questions, that's it from me.
Thank you, Charlie. Do we have any questions
Thank you.
for the assembly member's office? All right, thanks, Charlie.
Thanks.
All right, Kana Irvin from Councilmember Margaret Chin's office.
Hello. Also just introduce myself. My name's Kana. I came from another council member's office, but I have never met all of you, so nice to meet everyone. I am Councilmember Chin's Communications and Legislative Director. So some brief updates. So last Thursday, the council voted on a historic age discrimination package. This is something that Margaret's been working on for a long time and something she introduced last year. So we're very excited to see it voted on, and it did pass. It will combat age discrimination in the workforce by creating a Center for Workforce Development for Older Adults. It will provide training and resources. Sorry, my computer just went black. It also does a bunch of mandates on the Commission of Human Rights and Department for the Aging to work to provide some recommendations and reports and studies on age discrimination. And Councilmember Chin is thankful for all of her colleagues' support and is committed to providing older New Yorkers with the support they need in these difficult times, and as chair of Aging Committee. Some other updates are that the MTA announced that starting December 1st, there will be split tolling coming to Verrazano Narrows Bridge. We're also very excited about that. That's something that she's been advocating for a long time. And we're hopeful that that will reduce the amount of traffic, noise, and car pollution on Canal leading up to the Holland Tunnel. So we're really excited about that. Some local updates. So we have partnered with Chinatown Bid to create the Homework Hub. It's hosted by Streets Lab, and it allows all New York City students to gather and get help with homework safely. You can sign up and get time with a tutor, with any homework help, or like just practicing reading. And there are heat lamps and snacks provided. And it is on Doyer Street on Mondays from 2 to 5. We also joined a rally to celebrate International Street Vendors on November 12th, because Councilmember Chin is the prime sponsor of Introduction 1116, which is working to help vendors get relief and support they need to eliminate our city's black market for vending licenses and to just bring them justice to these immigrant entrepreneurs. We also want to plug our Community First Food Pantry. We are approaching 9 months of hard work. We partner with UA3 to combat rising food insecurity, and last week we delivered 500 boxes of fresh produce, milk, dairy, and grains to Rutgers houses, and you can sign up to help volunteer. Also, just from listening, I wanted to say about 174 Forsyth. So Cooper Square is actually no longer part of the organizing process, and the tenants are looking to organize, but Cooper Square informed us that they're not helping on that advisory level anymore. And we're looking into ways that the city can help pay for translators. And I hope that everyone has a healthy and safe Thanksgiving. And my email I'll put in the chat, but please feel free to reach out to Margaret's email, chin@council.nyc.gov, with any concerns.
Thank you, Kana. I appreciate it. Welcome to your first Community Board 3 meeting. There is one question from a board member, Olympia Kazi, is asking if you can repeat the tutoring opportunity details.
Sure. So let me scroll back up. So it's called, where is it? It's called Homework Hub. It's really, really cute. I saw it myself. They set up this like area with heat lamps, and they give snacks and drinks to students if they want to go sit with a tutor and get help with homework. A lot of it is like practicing reading. There were some young kids there when I saw it, but if you have more specific,
how do people sign up for it?
I can give you that information. So yeah, I'll put my email in the chat and just send me an email and I'll let you guys know.
Great. Thank you, Kana. Any other questions for Councilmember Chin's office? All right, and we're going to go to Isabel Chandler from Councilmember Rivera's office.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Nice to see you. I will try to be very brief. Councilmember Rivera, we are working to address heat outages, gas outages as they come up in the community. Specifically, Haven Plaza, as many of you may know, has experienced heat outages. We have been working with both residents and management to advocate for the restoration of heating, as well as working with management to get gift cards and other support for residents experiencing the loss of their heating. In addition, Officer Garcia of the NYPD resigned before his administrative trial. I know many of you shared concerns about next steps after his violent assault of Donnie Wright in the district. And while we are certainly glad that he no longer works at the NYPD, he's also still receiving benefits and his pension, which is exactly why Councilmember Rivera is fighting to call for the mayor to ban escalation tactics and violence that create situations like that one. As Senator Kavanaugh mentioned, we are working with other offices to address the uptick in concerns about partying in the neighborhood as it relates to social distancing. You know, we want everyone to be safe, and the governor, you know, recently released a mandate to limit gatherings to 10 people. We've been working with individual tenants and buildings to address this, but if you know of anyone who is experiencing this or has concerns, please do feel free to reach out to our office. And finally, as we are experiencing, you know, a rise in COVID-19 numbers, concerns about community health and safety, Councilmember Rivera has held a hearing this month in November about the public hospital system and their preparation for the second wave. She's been advocating for the pooling of resources so that we can better serve communities if we experience and as we experience higher rates of cases. And we have 2 upcoming hearings in December, one on the upcoming vaccines and how they will be distributed, and the other on the maternal mortality crisis in New York City. So if either of those, if you are interested or have questions about them, feel free to reach out to me. And sorry, I already said finally, but really finally, I added the November 2020 newsletter from our team in the chat. So feel free to look through for updates or reach out to me directly. Thank you, Michael. Sorry to go on.
Well, don't worry about it. Are there any questions for Councilmember Rivera's office? All right, I think we're good. Have a good Thanksgiving as well. All right, folks, that closes the elected officials portion of our meeting tonight. We are now going to move to the roll call vote for attendance and approval of minutes from the September 2020 meeting. Michelle, are you doing roll call or is Eric?
Yep,
Okay.
I'm doing it tonight, yeah. I just want to remind everyone that only if you respond, I'm doing this on Paul's behalf, only if you respond as present during this roll call will your vote be counted. So if you're here, make sure you speak up. I just say your vote for the officers that vote, obviously. Okay, David Adams.
Present.
Thank you. Your own Altman.
Present.
Jesse Beck.
Here.
Dominic Berg.
Present.
Lee Berman.
Present.
Carlin Chan. Okay, I do not see Carlin. Thank you. Jonathan Chu.
We just promoted him from attendee, so it might take a second for him to be able to talk.
Jonathan Chu, I don't see you yet. David Crane.
Yes, I mean
Thank
here.
you. Felicia Cruikshank. Did not see Felicia. Eric Diaz.
Present.
Alistair Economakis.
Yes. Here.
Shirley Fennessy.
Present.
Ryan Gillum.
Present.
Deborah Glass.
She's not on.
Okay, thank you. Andrea Gordillo.
Present.
Thank you. Herman Hewitt.
Present.
Thank you, Herman. Trevor Holland.
Present.
Is that a yes?
Yes, present.
Thank you. Linda Jones.
Present.
Valentina Jones.
She's on.
Valentina. All right, I'll come back. I'll do another second round. Tatiana Jorio.
Present.
Thank you. Lisa Kaplan.
Yeah.
Olympia Kazi. Olympia Kazi. I know she's on. Okay. Joseph Kearns.
Present.
Michelle Cooper-Smith. Yes. Mei Lee.
Yes.
Thank you. Wendy Lee.
Present.
Alicia Lewis Coleman.
Yes.
David Louis,
Yes.
Ellen Liu,
Yes.
Michael Marino,
Yes.
Alex Militano,
Yes.
Michael Perlis,
Present.
Tariq Ramos,
Present.
Paul Rangel,
Present.
Carolyn Ratcliffe,
Present.
Damaris Reyes.
Present.
Thank you. Richard Ropiak,
Present.
Thomas Rosa,
Present.
Robin Chattel,
Present.
Heidi Schmidt,
Present.
Larissa Schoenberg,
Present.
Clint Smeltzer.
Yes. Present.
Thank you. Anisha Stephen,
Yes, present.
Sandra Strother,
Present.
Josephine Velez,
Present.
Troy Velez,
Present.
Rodney Washington.
Present.
Thank you. Kathleen Webster,
Present.
Jackie Wong,
Present.
Ricky Wong.
Present.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm gonna do a second round for the folks that didn't get a chance in the first time. Carlin Chan, I still do not see him. Michael, do you see him?
No.
Okay, thank you. Jonathan Chu,
Present.
thank you. Felicia Cruikshank,
I do not see her.
okay. Deborah Glass, I don't see her. Nope, okay.
No.
Valentina Jones. Val's on.
She's on. Valentina.
Can't even see her video.
She doesn't have her video on.
Oh,
She might be doing something else, so.
all right. Ooh. Olympia Kazi.
Olympia is on and she's unmuted, so it's possible that she's having sound problems, like she's not connected correctly.
Audio problem. All right. Are you a yes, Olympia?
I see her waving at us.
Olympia, are you a yes? You can put it in the chat. Present. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so I think that Val is the only person who we see on who is not responding, right?
Correct.
Can someone text her?
Valentina?
What should we do in this situation? Nominating committee or parliamentarian?
Sorry, did you with a what?
We'd like her to have an opportunity to vote, but she's got to be present, so better do it soon.
Maybe she's in the restroom.
Maybe.
Wait, can she?
That's true.
Can somebody text her? I just texted.
Yeah,
somebody
please,
to
somebody
her.
text her. Committee, Trevor, you're her committee chairperson. Can you text her?
And we talked about her voting earlier, so before that.
How about we just move on with the program and, you know, after the next person speaks, give her another chance. Because she is here.
Well, I'm gonna ask the nominating committee because I know Paul had set a deadline. So Paul, if you could explain it again.
Well, I am the nominating committee.
I'm sorry. I'm
chair.
sorry, Larry.
I'm the chair. I hate to, if Val just went away for a little bit, I hate to disenfranchise her because we know she's here.
She was here before the meeting started and she definitely had the ability to talk because she was asking
Yeah,
me
she was talking.
some questions about how to vote.
And I just saw Felicia Cruikshank just came on.
Okay, yeah, Felicia, we're doing
on, but I was on another format. I don't know. I've heard everything that was said. I took notes. I just
okay.
don't
Are
know why
you
couldn't
are you a
hear me.
yes? Are you a yes on the minutes?
Yes.
All right,
Yes, yes
great.
on
Thank
everything.
you. You're
Thank you.
franchised.
Craziness.
I'm sorry, I have a question. Were we voting on the minutes? That wasn't announced.
I announced at the beginning of roll call that we were voting on the minutes and taking attendance, but then Michelle added the disclaimer that the attendance was also going to be used to determine whether you were present to vote, which is why I think half of you said present instead of yes.
Okay.
But yes, we were voting on the minutes and taking attendance.
Okay.
Sorry, Alicia, except this is your turn to chair.
Okay, we're gonna move forward because I don't know where Val is at, but that's okay. We can always come back. If that's okay with you, Linda, we know that Val is present. Will that be all right with the committee?
Yes, it's okay.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you. All right. So good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for, I'm gonna ask that, can you, Michael, put on your screen share for tonight's agenda, our vote sheet, please?
You're muted, Michael.
Sorry,
Screen
yeah,
share.
give me 2 seconds. I was actually opening it up while,
Thank you very much.
no problem.
Okay, everybody. So now, let me see. Why can't I see it that well? The vote sheet. Scoochie over. Thank you. Okay. So we have one item that we voted on at executive office. Michael, can we center that a little more? Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
Do you want me to go down to the item?
I'm sorry?
I'm confused where you want me to go.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Nominating committee. That's
Yeah,
up to you
okay.
guys. Nominating
That's why I
committee.
was
Linda,
confused. I'm
it's
sorry.
your go. Sorry, Linda.
Okay, so folks, I think as you all know, because we're Zooming and we're not in the room, we can't vote in the way we always have conventionally done. So we have come up with an online ballot, which can be reached by clicking on the link in the email that was sent to you shortly before the meeting. But before we do that, we're going to have presentations from all of our members, all of our candidates. Is everybody okay with understanding how to use the link and go to the ballot? Okay, if you start having problems with that, we have some email addresses and phone numbers you can contact, or you can raise your hand and I'll try to help you.
Linda, Richard Ropiak raised his hand physically, so I don't know if that means he has a question or not. You're muted, Richard.
Linda, earlier I tried to log in to the election page and I was not able to access it. I spoke with Paul and Paul said that as the voting proceeds, I will call Paul and phone my decisions into him.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's allowed. Some people may be only on a telephone and not be able to go to the email, or you may have a problem with it. So we have backup. We have Paul and we have Robin as backup, and they can put your vote in.
And Linda, Val is back and has a question.
Val.
Val, you have to unmute yourself.
Yes, I apologize. I don't
missed
really have a question. What is it you want me to do?
First of all, we want you to be here so that you count and so you can vote, and you are.
You need to say yes. If you approve the minutes, you need to say yes for approval of the minutes and the roll call attendance, Val.
Okay, yes, and yes for roll call attendance.
Okay, so we're going to have a presentation from each candidate first, and then it will be time to vote. And that's when you go to your email and click the link and vote.
Linda, there's one more question from Trevor.
Yes, Trevor.
Not a question, but I just want to thank the nominating committee for putting this together. I know it's been a difficult year trying to come up with creative ways to make sure we can vote and not be disenfranchised, as Michelle has mentioned, but just thank you to the nominating committee for coming up with this procedure.
Well, on behalf of a lot of working committee members, I thank you. Okay, are we ready to go with the presentations? Let me get my list up so we do it in the right sequence. We'll start at the top with the candidates for chair. And the first speaker, oh, I should also say you have 2 minutes. And I think we are planning to put up the clock for you, so you'll know. The first speaker will be Alicia Lewis Coleman.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, again, for considering to continue to support me as your board chair. Having an opportunity to serve you and our community as chair for the past 2 years has been an honor and a privilege for me, especially as COVID brought about an unprecedented challenges for our which is located in the East Village on East 11th Street and First Avenue. And since the height of the pandemic, I went from serving children to now serving the adults that come to the door every day. And I get to see firsthand what COVID is doing to destroy our community as far as people having food deprivation. One of the major priorities over the past year has been to increase representation on our board, across our board, because CB3 is so wonderfully made of an eclectic amount of people with different backgrounds, cultural diversity, and the such. I want to continue to have our community reflect that, our leadership reflect that, and the goal is to work towards appointing new committee members as they would like to be in leadership roles. I would like to encourage the newer members to reach out to me. I also want to continue to review the operations of our board and the committees. And if there are any issues that are going on, I'd like for members to reach out to me directly and don't be afraid to tell me when something is not right. Because that's the only way we're going to fix things if we, again, address them and not wait until the last minute to say this is happening or that's happening. We can only work together as a team if we are connected as a team. I thank you again for all your support, and I wish that you will continue to allow me to be your chair.
Thank you. Michael Marino. Unmute
Mute
yourself.
myself. There we go. Sorry about that. Thank you, Linda. And thanks to the
You can
nominating
start the
committee
clock back
as
to
well.
0 if
That's
you
all
want.
right. Don't worry about it. I can keep talking. I had the opportunity over the past few weeks to speak to many of you one-on-one. You read my candidate statement. I don't want to be sort of repetitive in what I've already talked about and what I've put out there. But what I thought I'd do tonight is spend a little bit of time sort of just telling you a little bit about me, because a lot of what I've heard from people is that they don't really know who I am. So I'll tell you a little bit of personal stuff about me. I've had basically 3 careers in my professional life. I started out as a theatrical stage manager and then a special event producer. I was part of the team that produced the AIDS Walk here in New York and the AIDS Dance-a-thons in the 90s when we still did those at the Javits Center. Then transitioned into a career in nonprofit fundraising and development, helping raise millions of dollars for various different organizations, including Broadway Cares, Equity Fights AIDS, and Gay Men's Health Crisis, and the Empire State Pride Agenda. And for over the past decade and a half, probably, I've been working in higher ed administration, specifically research administration. So currently, I'm the executive director of sponsored projects for Long Island University. Basically what that means is that I manage all the aspects of funding from private entities, local and state and federal governments in relation to faculty research and student scholarships. Part of that means that I have to ensure that the university is compliant with the various rules and regulations placed on the funding given to us, and deal with contracts and compliance and all that fun stuff that comes with all of that money. So again, I just wanted to give you a little bit of glimpse of sort of my professional career, and maybe that helps you sort of understand why I think I can transfer some of those skills into being the chair of the community board. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, we're going to have the candidates for first vice chair now. The first one is Lisa Kaplan.
Thanks. I appreciate this opportunity to introduce or reintroduce myself to each of my fellow board members. As you probably read from my written statement, I have a considerable amount of relevant experience working in this community. I was first appointed to CB3 in 1977 and served as the chair of the board back in the year 2000 during the 9/11 crisis. And I've served as chair of several committees and task forces over the years. This past year, I served as second vice chair of the board. I've also had the opportunity to broaden my knowledge of this community and how city government works when I served for 6 years as Rosie Mendez, Councilwoman Rosie Mendez's chief of staff. I've been active in both staff and board, numerous community organizations over the past 40 years. I take my role as an officer of this board real seriously, and with my experience as a backdrop, I believe I've been able to constructively assist this board in its operations and effectively represent our neighborhood. One example of how I've done this during the past year is the next item on our agenda tonight, the executive committee item regarding clarifying when a resolution may or may not be considered on a committee agenda. I saw that both board members and the general public were not always clear on whether a reso could be entertained. And I suggested to the executive committee that the policy be clarified. They agreed. They asked me to draft a policy statement, and I did that, and my effort resulted in the item before us tonight. And I believe that provides the necessary clarity that'll be helpful to the board. I ask for your support tonight and the opportunity to serve as first vice chair next year. Thanks.
Thank you, Lisa. Next, Larissa Schoenberg.
Hi, thank you, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to run for first vice chair. I know a lot of people don't know me very well on the committee, so just briefly, I am senior team lead for billing and coding at Mount Sinai Department of Anesthesia and Pain Management. I really love my job because I'm training a group of billers and coders, and I am kind of the gatekeeper to help people make sure that they can see the physicians they need to see to get the care they need and to get to the specialist. We do a lot of fighting for our patients, advocating for them with our specialists, with insurance carriers and with other hospitals. So I am keenly aware of the health disparities and the need for continued health care in the community, which is why I'm very proud that I served on the community board in Health and Human Services for 3 terms. I've served as a member, a secretary, and currently Zoom master, yay. And I love to volunteer for anything that they need to help move the committee forward. Last year, I was appointed to the Gouverneur Cab, which is the place I've been hoping to get appointed to, knowing what a key role that hospital plays in delivering services to our vulnerable community. I was just elected to first vice chair of that cab, and very excited to make sure that the communication flows from the cab to the community board so that we can work in tangent to make sure that services don't get cut and that the hospital continues to serve the community in the best capacity. As first vice chair, I would hope to bring open communication to the board. I feel we have a tremendous amount of talent on this board. I feel we have a tremendous amount of services that people provide, and we just need to make sure that they can bring that to the forefront. I know, I'm sorry, I'm a little long, but make sure that everyone feels that their needs are being addressed, that there's a concern that it is taken seriously and the validity is followed through from beginning to end, complaints, concerns, or needs, and that we make sure everyone can serve in the full capacity on the board. I also want to encourage education and support the chair in any way I can. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, for second vice chair, we have Eric Diaz.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Hi, Community Board 3. Just wanted to introduce myself to some new committee members and also to the faithful community board members that have been with me since 2015 when I was first appointed to Community Board 3. Since that time, this board has allowed me the opportunity to be elected into the executive committee, probably within a year and a half of my first appointment to the board. And that since then has given me opportunities to learn and grow and understand the ins and outs and the responsibilities of what an executive committee must do on a Community Board 3 level. I was heartened by that election because it showed that there are true Latino representation is possible within this board. True people born and raised in the Lower East Side, like many of us here, can be a part of this community board effort to see things happen on behalf of our community leaders and communities that we serve. I just want to take the opportunity to tell you that I look forward to being the second vice chair. And as my bio and my statement points out, I'm very interested in hearing more community advocacy issues, working alongside the chair with their weekly responsibilities. I thank you for the time that I've been given to be the assistant secretary in record keeping and in the secretary position during this pandemic. I just look forward to continuing to move important issues forward. I look forward to hearing all the exciting new energy that's in the community board. And again, I want to also let the community board know that I have full confidence in the slate that I've been part of with our current chair, Alicia Coleman, and with Larissa Schoenberg as first chair. We have awesome people running for this position. Just thank you for your your trust in me. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. For Secretary, Michelle Cooper-Smith.
Thanks, Linda. As you all probably know, because I call it your name every month, I'm Michelle Cooper-Smith. I'm currently the Assistant Secretary for the board, and I'm also I'm the Vice Chair for the Transportation Committee, where I get to support Paul Rangel, who is my friend and dear colleague. And I'm running for secretary this time around after doing a lot of the secretarial work since the beginning of the pandemic, because Eric has been working so hard in the neighborhood to support families in need. And so I'm hoping that you will support me to continue in that role formally going forward. I am a resident of the Lower East Side. I'm below Delancey Street, and I have a longstanding connection to this neighborhood. My grandmother grew up just down the road on Rutgers Court, and her home was razed during the slum clearing of the 1950s. So I was inspired to join the board, hoping that I could do something to help the neighborhood and make sure that things like that no longer happen here. I've had the chance to learn a lot being part of the executive committee and a member of transportation and now the SLA committee. And I just ask that you continue to support me in this role, and I look forward to serving you for the next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Okay, for Assistant Secretary, Shirley Fennessy.
Hi, everybody. My apologies. We're competing for internet connection, so I don't have video on because it will slow me down too much. I'm running for Assistant Secretary. I have lived in the Lower East Side or East Village for 30 plus years. And I got involved in community board because I wanted to make a difference in the community that I so much appreciated for the time I've lived here. I have 2 children, special needs children. I'm on the Health, Human Services, Hospital, Seniors, Homeless, Human Rights Committee, Education. I'm really interested in shifting education for our community and really looking into how to shore up mental health issues, because that's become a big thing and it's part of my passion. I'm also involved with a community upstate, which is working with food scarcity. And at some point, my wish is to bring that into our community or into New York City. But right now they're working in the Hudson Valley to try to shore up food scarcity issues and work in communities with farmers and with language justice. I happen to be bilingual and in Spanish and English, and I look forward to serving the community board in a bigger capacity this year.
Thank you. For treasurer, Thomas Rosa. You with us, Thomas?
Forgot to unmute. Hello, everybody. Good evening, CB3. I am Thomas Rosa. Very humbled to be nominated for this position. I'm hoping everybody got a chance to read my bio. If not, I'll just give you a quick recap. I have over 23 years of public experience, public service experience, starting off with the city council. And what I've done, I became acclimated to city budget processes through that. I am currently the Dean of Students at the Manhattan School for Career Development right there on East 4th Street. And it's been a phenomenal run over there. We become experts at doing a lot with a little bit of money, which kind of brings me into this position. I'm also the Title III coordinator for my school. So over the last 10 years or so, I've allocated over $120,000 in funding for English language learners directly through programming. And it's been a phenomenal task. I have an annual budget of about $12,366. As my role as dean is obviously to keep the students safe, but I'm also a fierce advocate for my students, and we get a lot done with a little bit of money. One thing that we've been able to do, we have an incredible relationship with NYU, and we host phenomenal graduation ceremonies. I'll invite everybody this year. It's a great time. I was able to secure professional artists that I know, and at minimal cost. And many times they'll do it just from our relationship, and we just really do something special to enhance the lives of the students in our district. I'm hoping to bring that flair into the work as treasurer. I understand the budget is not as big, but it doesn't matter. I'm used to doing big things with a little bit of budget, and I'm hoping that I'd have the opportunity to show my stuff in CB3 and continue to learn and grow with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. And finally, Sandra Strother.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the nominations. I too feel remiss in not giving a little bit more about my background. In the late 80s, I was newly married, moved to California, worked for the Western Space and Missile Center, under 80 engineers, came back to New York, divorced, homeless, 3 children, helped by a Congresswoman, Nydia Velázquez, to get the apartment that I have right now. For 25 years, I worked for major law firms, and 2009, I got disabled. So I went back to college, got my associate's degree, criminal justice, and my bachelor's degree. In 2015, I joined the board of Grand Street Guild Residents Association. 2017, I became its president. Hell-bent on changing the quality of life and to restore a sense of community here on the Lower East Side, where I forgot to mention I am born on the street that I live. I do several programs, events every year, Mother's Day, Father's Day, social services events. And for these events, I have to write proposals, receive funds, allocate, distribute, purchase items in order to make these events happen. I received several awards, as you can see behind me, for New York State Assembly citations from Yulene, 3 from the council citation, Councilwoman Chin, the 2018 Community Service Award, 2019 LES Heroes Award. In all of this, I had to do most of the work for getting it done. Also working with Eric Diaz from Vision Urbana. I have applied for and won grants such as the Citizens Committee for 2019. I understand that we don't have much money at CB3, and it's not all about, I realize it's not all about the budget for the executive committee. I've attended most of the meetings this year, and I realize it's about the process and the policies of how the community board works. And I think I could be a positive voice in making anything better that we attempt to do. Thank you very much for your nomination.
Thank you, Sandra. Okay, that's all the candidates. So now is the time to try out the voting system. So if you would all go to the link that you've been provided in your email and vote, please. Me too.
Hey, Linda,
Yes.
it's not loading for me. Is it loading for?
Yeah, it just loaded for me.
It takes a while, Dominic. And if you can't get your Wi-Fi, maybe if you have a cell phone, you could use your, if you have personal hotspot, you might want to try that.
Yeah,
instead.
my other
Yeah, I use my
other sites are loading for me. Like other sites are loading just fine for me. That's why I was concerned about.
Yeah, well, give it a little time. I don't know
Okay.
why.
Could
it's-
it be overloaded if everyone's doing it at the same time?
Sure, that could happen. It popped right up.
Oh,
for
I
me.
just got
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
What?
I just got in.
Popped right up for me. I'm on Chrome.
It just takes a while.
Mine went through pretty easily. I use another computer instead of the one that I'm on.
Mine went through just like that on Safari.
Mine went through like that.
Mine as well, very quickly.
So I'm out of there. So if somebody else needs to get in, maybe you will now. We'll give it a few minutes, and then if somebody still couldn't vote, contact Paul or Robin.
Was it supposed to send you a receipt?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, but
May, it should. You should get an email with the receipt.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what I thought it said.
I
Okay.
did not know that.
It's going to take a while with your votes recorded, what you sent me.
It's from Google.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I'm familiar with it, but I just thought that's what I thought I saw.
Yeah, I got a receipt. Yay. Good work, Paul.
On Google.
Paul and Robin, I
Yeah.
made
Excuse me?
a mistake in my vote. Should I just resubmit?
Yeah, resubmit because, yes, what happened? I'm
I
sorry.
made
You
I made a mistake in voting. Fortunately, the email response was helpful.
If you made a mistake, you should just email Paul with the change. Otherwise,
Okay.
I think it'll go in. It might
Yeah,
go.
you'll have to figure out what to do.
Okay.
It said you could only do it once.
All right, I'll do that. Thanks.
And I don't know where Paul is. Paul, are you on? Can you hear me, Paul?
Yeah, I'm on. Sorry.
Okay, Dominic's sending you a correction.
That's fine. I have my email open. I'm ready for it.
Jackie, I see your cat. Cute.
Paul, a community board member is telling me he can't access it. He has an AOL account. What's the other option for voting? What's the other avenue again?
I can vote for that person, Eric.
Oh, okay. Should he call you?
He can call me, yeah, or text, yes. My number's in the email.
Thanks, Robin.
Can I ask a question of our chair, Alicia? Usually, at least during a live meeting, while the voting is happening, we continue with business so that the meeting can progress. Can we possibly do that?
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Sure. Okay, so let's go on. Let's go back to the screen share. Thank you, Michael.
Sure, hold on one second.
Okay, so as you see here, and as Lisa made mention, her and Linda worked on this executive committee vote, but we're going to first do my report, and let's see, where are we? Go back down. Thank you. Thank you. So we'll do the chair's report first. Okay, so again, thank you, everyone. We had an item for COVID, and I want to just hold on one second. Let me get my notes. Apologies, everyone. Okay, so as you're aware, there is an increase in COVID cases in our district and all over the city. The city is very concerned about the imminent action and immediate action that we should take. The Department of Health has created a new position of Manhattan Director of Test and Tracing, which has reached out to us for help in connecting with the community partners for both contracts and volunteer opportunities. We have connected her to LES Ready and have a few committee chairs who will work with her group as necessary. LES Ready had already volunteered to sponsor some pop-up testing sites that we will co-sponsor with other organizations. The dates are not set yet, so just hang in there. But there will be testing on Avenue B and on Avenue D. There will be a need for volunteers for the testing days. So if you are interested in being a volunteer on the volunteer list, please email Susan and write volunteer in the subject line. And her email is ssteetzer@cb.nyc.gov. That's Susan's email address for the community board. So make sure you write in the subject that you write that you're going to volunteer for the test and tracing, okay? And this is so important. I just recently got tested with my whole family, actually, last week. And the process, it was very long. The lines were horrendously long. And we all went to different spots to get tested. But in the end, I think we feel like a sigh of relief that that we all were able to do that as a family. And I think it's important for us, I think for everyone to have peace of mind. I'm not telling you what to do, but I strongly suggest that we all take the opportunity to do so for peace of mind. Okay, so this year's holiday celebration, it's that wonderful time of the year that we normally have a holiday gathering of some sort. And this is COVID, right? So here we are. And what do? There's all these wonderful Zoom activities that I'm seeing from various people. I've even attended 2 Zoom funerals. So I know we can put on a great Zoom holiday extravaganza for our board. And I'm calling on all people that have talents, gifts, that want to share poetry, song, maybe of some sort. And I'm looking for organizers to, and really, I want to make sure that we're able to get this done before the heighten of the holiday season. I know that Hanukkah is coming and Christmas is coming, but we're not doing a specific holiday celebration. We're just celebrating the end of the year, and we need some cheer. We need a little holiday spirit right about now, I think, to encourage all of us in what we're dealing with in the midst of this storm called COVID. So if you're interested in helping with that, can you please email me and let me know that you're interested in participating in the gathering? It would be nice to have as many people that know about arts and culture to participate and help create this wonderful activity for all of us. And we can even play some games. I've even seen people do like some type of game activities and stuff like that. Okay. The next item was, so we have our end of year. We also do another thing for the associate staff in the office, and that is we give gifts of gratitude. Michelle was kind enough to send out and take it on to be the contact person. Michelle, would you like to share your contact information for the accounts on how people can contribute if they wish to contribute for the gifts for the staff?
Sure. Yeah, I sent out an email to everyone, but you can find me on Venmo, PayPal, or Zelle. I can throw my email address and my phone number in the chat if that would be helpful for people to find me. That's usually how you can find people. Or if you would like to send a check, just you can email me or text me and I will send you my address. But thank you so much to everyone who has already contributed. I have you all in a list, so don't worry. We know if you contributed. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Michelle. And so also we sent out an email to the full board about a conflict resolution training on December 7th from 2:30 to 4:30 p.m. It's given by the Center for Creative Conflict Resolution. And I think that, thank you, Deborah Glass, for reaching out to them to see if they would give a training that would be later on in the day. They did respond back to Deborah and they said somewhere in the new year that they would be able to possibly put out more training and dates and times in the near future. But for right now, this is the one that has been scheduled, and the link, if you lost it in your email, we could resend you the link for the conflict resolution training for December 7th. And as our borough president announced tonight, that the full board applications for community boards is going to go out and will be due for February 1st, if I'm not mistaken. It would be a great opportunity for all of you to reach out to members of the community, people that may have not had an opportunity to participate in the community board process. If they're interested in becoming community leaders, people that, for whatever reason, you might feel like, hey, you should try this. It might be something for you to offer more contribution for the community and have their voices heard as well. So I encourage you to reach out to people and have them fill out the application. I believe it will be on the Manhattan Borough President's website, and I believe we also put it up on our website in the near future. I want to also encourage you to think of residents that are still without gas. If I'm not mistaken, part of guild houses is still without gas. And this is holiday season. People will not have gas to cook meals for themselves, as some residents from guild houses still have not had gas. for a few months now, and it's just deplorable as far as I'm concerned, to be without gas, to be able to feed the basic needs of your family. Please, I encourage you, if you know of someone that doesn't have gas, maybe you perhaps can offer to help them in some sort of way. I'm not telling you to cook them a whole meal. If you see fit to do that, or if you see fit to offer them some type of support on where they could get a meal, I do believe there are some local organizations that are providing hot meals, as well as we heard tonight, Elaine's office, our elected official, Assemblywoman, she will be distributing some hot meals, as well as several other organizations in the community. And I do believe Vision Urbana as well, Eric has been out there, and Sandra, you've been out there giving out hot meals and or offering Thanksgiving trimmings and turkeys for everyone. But just remember, there are people that won't have a stove to cook a turkey on. And that all being said, I want to thank you all again for your attention to my report. Next, we'll have the district manager's report. Susan. Susan, are you there? Where's Susan? Susan,
she's there. Susan, you might need to, you might not be connected to the sound the right way. Go on we can't hear you at all. Click on the arrow next to the microphone and select what microphone. You might be, if there's another microphone option, select that. Since I'm sharing the screen, the menu should show up on the top of your screen, I think. There's an arrow next to the microphone. Nothing? I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second so that because I think you might have an easier time finding the functionality that way. No? There's no arrow next to the microphone? So there should be a check mark next to whatever microphone you're using. If there's another microphone listed, select that one instead, because whatever microphone your check mark is on is not working.
Could you hear me now?
Yes, there you are.
Yay! It was a Realtek speaker or something. First time that happens. Thank you. Zoom is wonderful. First, the community board application is on our website, so you can direct people there. Thank you. Just a few minor reports. DOT has notified us, Department of Transportation, that they are expediting more programs. What that means is not community review. They're doing that to the street seat program and also bike corrals. So I just want to let you know, bike corrals are being installed on First Avenue at 5th Street, 7th Street, 9th Street, 2nd Avenue at 4th Street, 6th Street, St. Mark's, and 10th Street. We usually have a high demand. People always want more bike corrals. But it'll be interesting to see how this works out with all the restaurants in the same place. As Gail mentioned, the open street, open restaurant issues. We are continuing, as I've mentioned before, to get complaints, not about the program, but they're complaints about non-compliance. And right now there are two issues that we're hearing most about. One is amplified sound. The restaurants have figured out they're not allowed to do that up on the sidewalk. So they're putting amplifiers or mics on a chair just inside their door, just inside their window, and maybe 3 or 4 windows. Excuse me. But the more serious issue is the enclosures outside. I think there's very good science to show that the more COVID spread is from restaurants. The outdoor dining should mitigate that. But now that many of these structures are being totally enclosed, which is non-compliant, and there's no ventilation, but they're being treated like outdoor dining, not like the 25% indoor. I have, excuse me, I'm having problems. I've tried several times to bring this to the attention of the city. I have not been successful yet. I think it's a really important thing to keep working on. I think it's just, it is seriously dangerous with COVID increasing. And that's all I report on tonight, unless there's any questions.
Sorry, any questions? Please use the raise hand function. I think we're good. Alicia, you're muted.
Yeah, I don't see any hands. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda. Let's go back to screen share. Thank you. Okay, so the executive, like I said before, the executive voted on this one item, and Lisa and Linda both worked on it. Thank you very much for the two of you working on this item, as you all can read. So we're adding this description so that it will be more clarification for the public members as well as committee members on once an item is placed on the agenda. And so you guys if you have any questions about it, let me know. Otherwise, we can move to vote on totally at the end, at our end of vote for tonight for all the items. Any questions about it? Any hands, Michael? Oh, one hand. I see one hand. Okay. Who is this?
That's in the attendee list. That might be David Adams.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, hi, it is me. I'm just curious, what does this change from what we've been doing until now? What does this resolution change or implement? I'm not understanding it. It's just telling you we're voting on it? Is that what it?
It's how items get added on. Like a lot of people are struggling with, hold on one second. Michael, can you pull it back up again?
Sure. Sorry.
I can't get to it. So it's a description of an item. So like if we're doing a resolution, sometimes when we have resolutions on an item in committee meetings, the subjects like are placed on the agenda, right? So like the public will say, oh, how did you get that item on the agenda? And sometimes there's no explanation on how information is given, right? No resolution. So resolutions are allowed, but at times there might be a hard time getting the matter for legitimate, like gathering further information. Like a lot of people want to say, oh, well, should we further review that? Should we get further information on that item? Lisa, do you want to give a further description because you worked on this item?
Yes.
Please. Go ahead, Lisa. You're unmuted.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
David, can you hear her?
Yes, sorry, there was some background noise from somebody unmuted, and I just muted them. So we're good now.
Okay, you can hear me, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, no, the issue really was about the fact that there had at some point been a lack of clarity about whether or not a resolution could be entertained on a certain item. And there might be discussion on the item, and it wasn't clear whether or not a resolution was in order. And there had been times where the chair, various committees may or may not have allowed a resolution to go forward when there had been an expectation by those present that one was relevant or should be discussed. So this just makes it clear in advance whether or not a resolution is appropriate to be heard at that agenda item.
David, does that clarify for you?
David, I muted you because of the background.
I don't see this. I mean, when we put information, No, it's usually we have, when we come to the vote, informational purposes only. You want us to put it on the agenda before we have the votes. Is that what it's saying?
Yes, in essence, that people would know in advance that a resolution would not be heard at that meeting.
You want to hold up, what happens if they decide, if someone changes their mind, we need a resolution?
It would be held at the next meeting.
Well, it couldn't be held, but by the next meeting it could be too late.
But the issue was that there were times where people said, even though it wasn't mentioned before, that a motion couldn't be entertained. So it became the executive committee felt
if you're predicting what's going to happen 2 weeks in advance of what may become an emergency situation. You're handlocking the committee if they have to do something. They're saying they can't do it because there was no official notification until then.
Mick, can I butt in here for a minute? I can't raise my hand.
Go ahead, Linda.
Yeah, David, sometimes there are items on the agenda that it's very early in the process. So they're put on the agenda for informational purposes. And the time for voting on them may be 1 or 2 months in advance.
I understand that. But what happens if something happens that we have to make a resolution? Could someone then come say, you said there wouldn't be a resolution, but conditions come down and forces us to make one? Would this be a legally restrictive item for us to make a resolution?
Well, in my own experience, I haven't seen that happen. What's happened is that there's been something
sometimes an agency comes to us and it happens in parks. We didn't think we were going to make a resolution. And then they decide, yeah, it would be very helpful because they have a tough time with the budget committees. And sometimes it happens that we have to make a resolution that we weren't planning on doing that night just to help them get their monies in.
Well, the intent of this was for those things that are truly informational. The vote is a couple of months down the road.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Hold on. Go ahead, Susan.
This is actually, the informational only is actually something the board voted on several years ago. It's been part of our policies already that certain things are just informational. Often, I think, only because there's only one perspective there. The issues you're talking about, like the parks agencies coming, that's never informational.
There's sometimes there's an ongoing.
There's always about.
There are sometimes an ongoing project that we're going to have across, by East River. We're going to have an ongoing project, and they're going to want to, in that case, they want to manipulate something at the very last minute and need a change, need an authorization to make that change. And even though we're asking just for an update on what's happening, something could come down that may require us to make a resolution.
David, I think this is more for like, I'm sorry, Susan. I think this is more for like clarification. This is more for like informational, like more, if someone wants further background information on an item, David.
Why do we need this resolution if we're not going to make a resolution at those meetings anyway?
Stop interrupting the women who are talking, please, and let them.
Stop that.
I don't believe that this is going to hold up the process if we need to pass resolutions on anything. I believe that this is more for like a clarification or for like further information, because sometimes there are items that we do need further informational background on rather than going ahead and passing on something where a lot of people, like I think just recently, land use had an item, right, Lisa, if I'm not mistaken? Everyone said we need further background on this item. We can't go ahead and further just pass this. We have to send it back and further review the information because it was just too much to give in one meeting. And people really were struggling with the item. Am I right?
The purpose of this meeting, this resolution, was to make sure that to the maximum extent feasible, resolutions would be heard, not to restrict them. There had been the problems that had arose were on the other side, David. So
Sorry? I didn't hear the word, I'm sorry. The uproar?
The
Okay,
problem,
I didn't hear that word clearly, I'm sorry.
I don't know what word you didn't hear, but.
I think it was the uproar. It didn't come across, but I figured it out from your statement. Okay, thank you.
All right, Alicia, I'm sorry to interject here, but you have 3 hands up from other community board members who.
Okay, sure. Thank you,
So
Michael.
I'm just,
David,
final statement, I think we have this already and we don't need a resolution that would handicap us. That's all I'm saying.
David, I'm going to ask that we allow other members to have comment also.
I just said I would make my last comment that I don't think we need this because we operate this way anyway. Bye.
Thank you, David. Okay, I saw Trevor, Olympia, and Dominic. Okay.
I'll
I
be
don't know
very.
whose hand was first. Go ahead, Trevor.
I just spoke. I'll be very brief. I do think that the chair of each committee and the office won't use that for informational purposes for most of the items. It will be for items that we are sure that there's not going to be a resolution. I'm just going to add that in certain situations, and I've expressed this, and I expressed this at the executive meeting where we had a very long discussion about this. I didn't think we'd have one this length tonight, but this is really also for the community because a lot of times the community may not be aware that something may be voted on, even if it's on the agenda. And we want to make it clear to the community that if it's an informational presentation, it is for that purpose only. But that's all I have to say. I just wanted to point that out because like Lisa said, we're really talking about the other side of the issue as opposed to items that we're going to vote on.
Thank you, Trevor.
Sorry, Alicia. I just wanted to let you know that Clint, who cannot raise his hand, also wants to make a comment at some point too, if you can call on him.
Sure. Dominic?
Yeah, I think Trevor pretty much just said what I was going to say, and I think Lisa clarified. There is an out here where resolutions are allowed if it comes to it that something surprising happens, but that I've been in multiple meetings when it really wasn't clear to people that it was really informational, that there wasn't going to be a vote, and the community has gotten a lot of people there, and it's really helpful for them as well as for committee members that may be confused, as to whether or not there's even really supposed to be a resolution. So I think this is a good addition.
Thank you. Okay, Olympia, and then Clint.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Olympia, we can hear you.
Yeah, it works. Okay, so I agree with everything that has been said, but I think David's concern is also fair. So not today, but we could also consider trusting each other and our various committees and actually presume that there can always be a resolution, but the committee chairs and the committee members will know if this is a first presentation and they don't want to deliberate yet. Because our difficulty at land use has been that at times we really wanted to say something and we were impeded because we were told, oh, we weren't expecting a resolution on this item. So that's why I think this is valid, but we could also consider in the future not restricting ourselves, allow it for us if there is an item in the agenda to do a resolution on it, as adults. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Olympia. Clint and then Robin.
Okay, so I think part of my confusion, and maybe someone else is having the same issue, is the where we're describing it as resolutions may be introduced and voted on by a committee unless the agenda item has an asterisk. I think that's, for me at least, when I read that, it's causing a little confusion, and I think it should be, sub items may be introduced to a committee where a subject is on the agenda and maybe made public and maybe voted. Because I think when it says resolution, a resolution to me maybe means something that's going to be voted on. But if it's an item to be discussed for information only, that's a different, to me, that reads differently than saying a resolution, because a resolution is something, I think, and I could be wrong, that means you're going to be voting it on. So if you're saying an item may be introduced, I think that's where the difference coming in. Please correct me if I'm wrong, anyone.
Okay. Lisa, would you like to respond to Clint?
Yeah, I'm not sure I understood Clint's comment.
He's basically saying that he doesn't
No,
believe
let me-
that the word resolution should be there. It should be item.
Well, I think where the confusion might be is that what we're saying is with regard to any item on the agenda, resolutions may be introduced and voted on. Is
So
the problem?
perhaps the wording, we need to change the wording?
I thought it was clear, but if that helps, Clint, that's what it means. It's just that the way it's worded here is that it's talking about the item on the agenda can be addressed through a resolution at all times, unless there's an asterisk after that that item on the agenda. Does that make it clearer? Does that address your question?
Clint?
It does to a point. Yes, I understand what your intention is. Yes.
Okay, Robin, and then Damaris. Thank you. Robin, and then Damaris.
I agree with Clint. I think what's confusing is that you start out by saying resolutions, and again, I think it should be agenda items can maybe introduced and voted on as resolutions or something, you know, or at least take out completely that middle sentence, unless that agenda item has an asterisk on it with the explanation on at the bottom stating informational presentation. I think that should be a separate paragraph that says informational presentations shall not have resolutions. An informational presentation is, and then define what an informational presentation is. And I think that in each committee meeting, the chair should then, if there's an informational presentation, should then read what we define, the definition that we come up, the executive committee come up of what an informational presentation is. Because the public doesn't know the difference. And so if we're making a difference, then we need to define that difference.
Thank you, Robin. Damaris?
Yeah, hi. I thought I heard Susan say, or someone say, that this was already voted on several years back. And so if that is the case, I think what my understanding is, we're just putting it out there so that the public and the chairs are reminded that this is how we operate. Is that, am I construing this the wrong way? Is that right? That it was already something that we voted on?
We didn't have the resolution, the asterisk part before, but the concept was voted on.
This was just to clarify, so it's perfectly clear. And informational presentations are rare. As you know, they come up in land use fairly frequently, where an agency is coming to give us a presentation about something that's preliminary, or a developer, right?
Yeah, so I mean, in closing, if I could just finish my remarks so we could I just think it seems clear to me too, we've had a considerable amount of discussion on it. Yeah. I mean, can't we just move on and put it up for a vote or something? People don't want to vote on it. They don't have to vote on it. Or if folks want, additional time, but it's 9:05, folks.
So can I have someone make a motion that we stop conversation on this? If there are no further remarks, I'm sorry, if there are no further remarks. Yes, I saw Damaris made the motion. Who seconded?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Sandra. Okay, so we're finished with the discussion about this item. And if I need, let me see, David, for clarification, do we continue or send it back to executive committee, or do we now just vote on it at the end and people will decide at the end whether or not this is something they want to implement with the asterisks? Where's
So
David? For
what,
information?
this, David?
Yes.
If what you just did was to decide to end discussion, then it is going to be voted on tonight.
Okay. So we decided to end the discussion. So now, do we have to have a motion whether to adapt this item or not?
Do we? I mean, it's on the agenda coming out of a committee.
So we don't need to
So I
vote
think,
on
right, we
the
just had a
end.
long discussion about it is what we did. Right.
Okay. So it will be voted on at the end, okay? All right, let's move on the agenda. Thank you so much, everybody, for the conversation about this item. Okay, transportation is going to move down because he is in the midst of counting. So we're going to move to the next committee, which is economic development. Anisha, are you there?
Yes, hi.
Thank you.
So we had 3 resolutions presented at economic development, and 2 of them were passed. I'll start with the first one, which was the to support grants for small businesses to winterize outdoor spaces. We had a presentation from the Department of Buildings, a representative come and discuss sort of the process and regulations, I guess, for using heating equipment and electricity to winterize outdoor structures for outdoor dining mainly. We had feedback from the public and also from the committee that the regulations and restrictions were burdensome and costly for businesses that were already struggling, and we weren't really sure how it was all going to work out. So we did put together a resolution to for support, including grants, to help businesses, adhere to these rules, basically. So if there are any questions about that first resolution, please let me know.
Okay, let me look for hands. I don't see any hands, so you can go on to the next item.
Great. So Arts and Culture is a subcommittee of economic development. So we did have 2 additional resolutions from Arts and Culture. Carolyn, if you're on, if you'd like to talk about your first resolution.
The first resolution was asking for the city to consider instituting WPA-style work programs in order to help the arts community recover. About 70% of the arts community has lost funding and during this period of time. And so it was thought that perhaps one of the best ways to address the issue is that they needed support from city and state agencies if possible, and if federal funding comes through, to support this community by establishing work programs that would employ artists and arts organizations. The second resolution was
let's see if there are any questions on that first one.
Fine.
Is there any
any questions on the first one? Any hands? No hands. Okay, go on, Carolyn.
Okay, the second resolution was in support of a law legislation introduced by Jimmy Van Bramer at the City Council, and it's intro 2068-2020. The way the resolution was worded, it was asking for Community Board 3 to support this legislation. It's stating that it would effectively ask Mayor de Blasio to rescind his executive order on amplified sound. There were a number of questions at the committee, economic development, as to how this would play out. And basically the committee was tied in its vote not to support the resolution or on the resolution. We basically have agreed to take the resolution back to the Economic Development Committee. There will be a joint meeting of Economic Development and Arts and Culture on December 2nd. And the resolution will be recrafted. There was also, I think, from what we understand now, a representative from Jimmy Van Bramer's office who will attend the Economic Development Committee to speak to us about this legislation and what it entails. The legislation was introduced to the City Council to support arts and culture organizations and artists to be able to perform on the street. But it also stated that it would have to follow guidelines. There's a self-permitting process involved. So at any rate, as stated, it will go back to the committee on December 2nd, and we will resubmit the resolution for after that meeting. Are there any questions?
Yes, I see one hand from Olympia.
Okay.
Yes, it's not a question, Caroline, it's just a clarification, because I think the way you talked about the resolution, you skipped the most important part, that the legislation that has been introduced by the chair of the Arts and Culture Committee is trying to make it legal for established arts and cultural organizations to host outdoor events. The United States was one of the unique in not hosting, especially in New York, any public events outdoors safely this summer. They prioritized the restaurants, but the arts and culture, they had no opportunity to do safe performances outdoor. And this is in the legislation. That doesn't thwart any other existing regulations about safety, noise, etc. At the same time, that legislation, by the mere fact that allows it, because right now there is a ban, a complete ban on public events. By allowing it to take place, as you can imagine, a theater company, etc., they will have to use amplified sound. But currently, there is a ban on that too. So our resolution was asking for that ban to be lifted for these permitted arts and culture events, not for the illegal things.
Olympia, I'm sorry to cut you off, Olympia, but we're going to it's going back to the committee, right? So you guys are going to further work on it.
I do want to say for the rest, can I please finish? So I do want to say that this was a clarification, and for the rest of the community board, they need to be aware that what happened at that meeting, there were a lot of problems, and that we're going to be working on that as a whole with the leadership and with the borough president, because it was inappropriate.
Absolutely.
Can I add some more to this? That I think that the Economic Development Committee heard this and is fully supportive of trying to support the arts and culture sector. Obviously, it is an important part of our neighborhoods and also our economy. It really was just that the resolution didn't have enough information, and we need clarification about a number of things in order to craft a resolution that adequately supports this proposed legislation and also contextualizes it in our neighborhood and the challenges that we do have in this neighborhood around sound. So I am happy to be working on this in the next meeting, and I'm sure it'll be a robust discussion as always.
As always. Thank you. Robin, question, clarification?
Yeah,
Yes.
hi. I'm glad this is going back to committee because I want to come to that meeting. And again, the resolution that Van Bremer's putting through it has nothing to do at all with sound. It has to do with the SAPO office permitting arts organizations to be able to use outdoor venues since they can't congregate inside. So it's a much broader, larger legislation. And two of them, one is that spaces anywhere like that already exist that are used for public gatherings, and two, like the restaurants using their front sidewalks. So I'm glad that this is going back because I want to be in that meeting. I've been working with a group of culturals on this legislation as well. So thanks for bringing it up.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you. Okay, Anisha, is that all for your report?
Yes.
Are there any questions? Any further questions? Okay, thank you very much, everyone. I'm going to move on to the next item, next committee, which is Parks and Recreation, Waterfront, and Resiliency. Trevor?
Hello, everyone. No resolutions, but a lot of information. ESCR came back this month, and they will continue to come to Parks Committee as they have for at least a year, every single month, to give us an update on the progress of the plan. Construction has started for PA2 or Project Area 2. That is the area in Community Board 6. Project Area 1, which is our area, will start soon. It is not delayed. It's they've moved a couple things around, and it's still on schedule to be complete. For the BMCR, which is the Brooklyn Bridge Montgomery Coastal Resiliency Project, that's the area from Brooklyn Bridge to Montgomery Street. It ties into the ESCR. There will be a webinar on 12/17 or sometime during that week. We don't have a final date, and that's to give an update on and allow some community input on that particular flood design. Pier 36, we discussed access because the dock is controlled by EDC, who leases it to one of the pier operating companies. I believe it's Billy Bay. We could not really come up with an agreeable time to open and close that area. There's been a lot of problems behind that particular pier. You can just imagine. We still have fireworks behind Pier 36, believe it or not, and a host of other activities because there is no closing time. So we'll probably discuss it at the next committee or even in January. Pier 42, there's a lot of stuff going on with Pier 42. I think the biggest problem we have is making sure we get information to people. We did have outreach on that back in March. They also held a community meeting at Governor Gardens, which is directly in front of Pier 42. They did get some input from those two meetings. However, I think there's still needs to be some clarification on what is called upland and the interim deck. The upland portion is federally funded and on a deadline, and that construction will start, I believe Pier 42 will start in the summer of next year, and the interim pier deck will start also next year. That will bring the total number of projects to, I believe, 4 major projects along the waterfront, all occurring at the same time. I've talked with our community board office about seeing if we can get some sort of construction meeting to sort of grab hold of all these projects going on at the exact same time. All these projects, Pier 42, BMCR, the Esplanade projects, and the Brooklyn Bridge Coastal Resiliency Project, BMCR, are all under some sort of deadline for federal spending. So there's something positive about that, meaning that they're likely to be completed on time, but we got to make sure that we keep the city honest about these deadlines because we don't want to lose those federal funds.
Any questions for Trevor? Okay, Trevor, I see no hands.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, Health, Seniors, Human Services, Maylee.
Hi, so we had our meeting last month. There are no resolutions for the board to vote on this month. However, I did want to bring your attention to next month's meeting, our next month's committee meeting, which will be on December 4th. We have a couple of agenda items that might be of interest to you. The first one is about senior citizens. The Department for the Aging is planning on a friendly social visiting program. I think it's a new program, but it's based on the model of volunteers being recruited and trained to provide services or counseling or some kind of friendly phone visiting support to senior citizens. So they'll come and present about it. We don't know that much about it, like how seniors get these services or which volunteers are being recruited, or even if, there are still volunteer opportunities. So if you'd like to know more about it, please come to the meeting. We will have 2 representatives of DFTA attending the meeting to let us know about it. The second agenda item is about students in school. So it is related to COVID-19 testing of students in schools. It's been brought to our attention. Well, we know that, I think there's a promise of monthly testing in the schools, some sort of random monthly testing, but it's been brought to our attention that it's not all happening, especially at the D75 schools, the District 75 schools. Those are the schools that are specialized in providing education and services to students with disabilities or special needs. So we will, but we know that, you know, if your kid is going to get tested, you know, parental permission is required. And our friends at CEC1 know that, well, not every kid who's going to school has been tested or is being tested, you know. So there's a lot of issues, and we will have a couple of speakers from the Citywide Council for D75 schools, as well as the Citywide Council for Special Ed students at the meeting, who can talk to us and answer our questions. And, you know, we'll learn more and see what, what's next. So that's on Thursday, the first Thursday in December. Any questions?
Any questions? Any hands? May, I don't see any hands.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, SLA.
Hi.
Alex?
For the two resolutions where we had stipulations, we received those stipulations, and I wanted to make two corrections. They're not substantive, they're my typos. So in number 3, which is Nori Tai Bazaar, the therefore clause, the first line of it should actually say this is a recommendation to approve, consistent with the title and the body of the resolution, not a recommendation to deny. And number 8, the therefore, which is 120 Orchard LLC, the therefore clause has the wrong address. I apologize. It should say 120 Orchard Street, not 244 East Houston Street. I sent those corrections already to Michelle.
Michelle has her hand up, Alex.
Sure.
Michelle, did you?
Yes. Well, it's not really a question for Alex, but I'd like to, and I need probably David's guidance on this, but I'd like to give the entire board an opportunity to vote up and down on number 8, 120 Orchard Bar LLC, which the committee recommended to deny. I will say that I voted for that approval. And there are a list of what would have been proposed stipulations in the 5th whereas clause. So David, I apologize that my poor knowledge of legislative procedure here, but can you advise me on how to put that on the floor?
Yeah, you've just done it. You've asked for a separate vote, and that's all that's necessary. So we'll do a separate roll call vote for this one, assuming that is what you're intending.
Yes. Well, just
Yes.
because right now the resolution says to deny, so obviously would I have to offer an amendment to it?
Yeah, if you want to amend, then
Or should we do it up
say-
and down vote on the deny?
No.
And
If
if
you
it's-
want to
okay.
amend it, you should do that in advance. It'll be cleaner. You would say, I move to amend in a certain way.
Okay, so I move to amend the resolution to add the stipulations that are outlined in the 5th whereas clause, starting with number 1, and ending with, oh, sorry, wait, I'm looking at the wrong paragraph, I think. Starting with number 1, operate as a tavern with music and art, and number 12, provide a telephone number for residents to call with complaints. I will just say that I thought that the applicants, and many of them spoke at the beginning of this during the public session, actually did make a pretty good case for their fitness to operate this this location. And while I understand that there are issues around noise, and there was with the previous applicant, these are not the same people who would be operating it. And they seem to have, as they explained at the beginning of this meeting, pretty solid experience operating and operating on the Lower East Side, in fact. And I am deeply concerned about what this neighborhood will look like, you know, if we have to close down again, and what it'll look like in 6 months or a year. And we should be giving opportunities to folks who, you know, who want to invest in our community. So do I need to do anything else, David? Do you want to, I don't know, Michael, do you want to just highlight the those stipulations 1 through 12 there?
I just need a clarification, which is that the stipulation she's proposing to attribute to this applicant are not this applicant's necessarily method of operation, but they're the stipulations that belong to Max Fish. So I just want to make that clear. So this is not necessarily comprehensive of the proposal by the applicant.
Okay, thanks, Alex. Yeah, that's what I was sort of wondering about. I guess because SLA has like the agreement to stipulations, David, if this is the right way to do this, or if we should.
Do you want to go into an explanation of what would be the right way? It's I mean, David could if you want him to answer it.
Well, the right way to structure the motion or the right way to approach this change. I mean, the right way to craft motions or to get them modified is to make an amendment, but the amendment does need to be clean and understandable. I mean, I couldn't follow it, but it's really hard in this kind of a meeting to follow. So I don't know exactly what language is being altered. That's really my only role in this.
Yeah, that's sort of my question about SLA because it's more complicated than normal.
I believe it's this. Is this right, Michelle?
Yeah, but the thing is that generally we get, and maybe Alex, if you want to explain this more, we would get agreement from the applicants on the stipulation. So that was sort of my question about how we should proceed with this, because I would like it to get an up and down vote by the board, but I'm just asking what the best way to go about that is.
So let me just explain the history then of the application. So we heard it in October, we heard it at length. They had a certain method of operation that they proposed. It's the same as what the second paragraph is of the resolution, what they proposed both in October and November. We had some concessions from them about the things that they might change. They withdrew. They had some discussion with the Lower East Side dwellers about what things they might change. They submitted a statement, or their attorney submitted a statement of the proposed amendments, which were not comprehensive of the method of operation, but what they felt they could agree to at that point. I included that. If you go further down, there's another paragraph that includes that they submitted that statement and what it included. Then we had a lengthy debate in the November meeting. In the November meeting, they couldn't agree necessarily. 4 out of 6 members wanted to deny the application. 2 wanted to approve. We did a motion to deny. We did have a lot of discussion about the potential amendments they would make to their method of operation to address the community concerns regarding this business, but also regarding the conditions in the neighborhood generally, that this business, if it continues with the same method of operation, would contribute to. So we wanted to avoid that. There was some assertion by them that they couldn't change their method of operation further and not have and continue to have a sustainable model or method of operation. When we were in the midst of making a resolution to deny, they then began to say that they could change things that they had told us previously that they could not change. And I included that at the end of the resolution because I wanted to have a fair hearing. So I think one of the principals who spoke said we hadn't done that, but I think that the resolution fairly reflects that. I think that we couldn't necessarily credit that they would be able to pull back their model to address community concerns and complaints. And given that the prior location had had the history it had, we still felt we had to make a resolution to deny. If we want to have a resolution, a contrary resolution to approve it with stipulations, then it probably has to go back to committee so that we can again try to construct stipulations. But the stipulations aren't, I don't think that what's included in the resolution, I don't think we can go through it now and cull out from it the things we think might be relevant stipulations for this type of business and do it in an efficient way where we can create a resolution with stipulations that the applicants could then sign.
Okay, Alex, I'm sorry. Trevor has his hand up. And then I also wanted to ask whether you think this is worth us maybe pulling the item since it's such a hearty discussion about it. But let's go on to Trevor's question.
Trevor, before you talk, I'm sorry to interrupt. Alicia, you also have David Adams and Clint.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I was just trying to get clarification. I think Alexander just gave me a little clarification about the procedure for this. For what Michelle is proposing, is that new language? Because I'm struggling to understand what we're doing right now.
So what she was proposing is just the history of the stipulations that applied to the prior business.
Adding those.
On the board now, but those are the
Right.
stipulations that were for the prior business. They don't necessarily reflect the way the new business wanted to operate completely or address their proposed method of operation.
But this is still a straight up denial, not a denial unless even with that particular paragraph. And in order to do that, you're saying because of the complexity, it will probably need to go back to committee.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next is
No, I'm withdrawing my comment. I don't have anything to add at this point.
thank you, Clint. David,
Hello?
yeah, we're here.
Yeah, okay. Basically, I was just say the same thing. It has to, that since there are resolutions and the parties have to agree to it, we can't approve a resolution that's not a denial here.
Okay, thank you, David. Okay, so we are agreeing that we are going to pull this item. Do I have a motion to pull the item, Michelle? I'm sorry, go ahead, Michelle.
Oh, I was just going to ask what the best, if we should pull it or if we should have people vote no against, but if I'll do a motion to remand to committee, if that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, I just want to clarification from David. David Crane, are you there?
Yep.
Can you just let us know direction to go here?
I'm a little confused about whether there's a motion to amend or not.
I'm withdrawing my amendment for the stipulations because as Alexandra explained, we need to go back to committee to craft stipulations that the applicants could agree to, but I'm asking if we should just do an up and down yes or no on the denial, or if we should just remand it to committee.
So then pull it for a separate vote, and we should do that vote at the, well, probably at the end of this committee report. If that's what's desired, then we should have a separate vote, a roll call vote on this one item right at the end of this committee report.
Okay.
But can I ask a clarifying question? I'm a little confused what that separate vote is for, because Michelle keeps saying voting no, or are we voting to send this back to committee for revision? So what are we voting on exactly?
I thought it was to vote on the underlying motion. I didn't hear that there was a motion to send it to committee. I was hearing that it would have to go to committee if it was going to be changed along the lines that originally was proposed. So I believe that all of that has been withdrawn. Is that correct?
Yes, I rescinded my amendment, and I'm asking if we should do an up and down vote, like yes or no on this current resolution.
Yeah, so yes or no on the amendment as written. Sorry, yes or no on the motion as written. And so if we do that, which we should, it's been requested, a yes would mean to deny, and a no would mean that we will not pass the denial, meaning we wouldn't send anything.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I see hands. I see Dominic and Trevor. Go ahead, Dominic.
Yeah, so just to clarify, because Michelle's suggesting, I actually took myself off mute because I was going to second her. It sounded like she was trying to send it back to committee, so I was going to second that. But it sounds like we need to vote no first, and then we can do that. Correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, Trevor.
That was my clarification. Dominic asked my question. Asked my questions. So I have clarification.
Thank you, Trevor. Lisa?
Can we make it so that if there is a vote no on the original motion, it will automatically go back to committee without having to take a second vote?
I think that we would do that. I don't know if there would need to be a vote for that. I think it would automatically, the committee chair would put it back on the committee.
Can I clarify though? We're voting yes, actually, because the motion is to deny. So we need to agree to deny this applicant. Is that right?
No. Yes, a yes to deny. And if we vote no, you're saying we are not going to send any resolution like this now.
Susan's hand.
Yeah, I
Physical.
just want to ask a procedural thing. So I assume these people have already gone to the SLA because they already have a temporary permit. So what impact is the vote going to have next month on their license? Have they agreed to consider stipulations? I mean, if this has already gone through to the SLA and they've already, you know, what is the situation?
So I don't know that there are well-defined stipulations yet because they insisted that there were things that they couldn't change. Then they told us they could change them while we were at, and after we were in the midst of constructing this resolution to deny.
But that's not what I'm asking. What I'm asking
what's the impact. I don't know that it may be that the stipulations get imposed, but the intention of the community groups that came opposed to this are that they're going to go to the SLA to be heard on this particular application. So I don't know what the resolution will be.
But again, that's not what I'm asking.
They're going to open. So they have a temporary license. They're going to be open. They may be open already.
Are they still willing to consider signing stipulations next month? And having that be their application to the SLA?
I think they may be, but I don't know what they'll be because those issues still remained outstanding at the time that we constructed.
Okay, so what I'm trying to say is procedural. I guess they're not there. I guess they didn't stay. I'm just saying procedurally, this is very difficult because you don't know what options you have at committee.
No, I also say that, they're not valueless applicants. I'm not saying that. And I don't think that we said that in the resolution. And in fact, we did hear them for a location on Houston Street and approved them for that location. And that was issued, but has yet to open. But the issues here were that there was so much community opposition. It was so very specific and it wasn't adequately addressed by the applicant. I appreciate that the one said, robust traffic plan, but saying something is robust doesn't make it so. It's, actually being able to define something for us in a way where we can understand that it's going to mitigate the existing issues. And Max Fish, while it was an institution, because that's the business that was there, it did not have a good track record with the community who had many, many complaints about it. And the reason that we approved Max Fish was because it was a long-standing fixture in the community and needed to move into that location. That's why we approved it at the time that we approved it.
Can I clarify what I was trying to say? I'm not addressing anything about whether they're good, bad, or indifferent. I was simply addressing, the procedure, if it goes back, since it's a 30-day notice and it's way beyond 30 days at this point, what I'm saying is, do we still have an option of voting and creating stipulations, whether they're good or bad, or do we not have an option of doing that because they've already gone to the SLA?
I don't think that we do because they've already gotten their temporary license. They already intended to open with the temporary license as soon as the committee hearing happened, regardless of whether or not we voted for or against them.
Okay, again, that really doesn't address the issue because a temporary license has to have the same stipulations as the current or as the last business. And this would be addressing the new license.
Just so people stop texting me 8 million times, I would like everyone to know that the applicants are still on. Normally, we do not let people other than board members talk during public session. So if our chair would like to have one of the applicants unmuted, I am happy to do that it's the chair's discretion at this point.
Yes, Michael, and I thank you so much for that. But I also I saw, Trevor, is there anything that you want to add to this, or can we please allow one of the applicants to speak on this matter so we can get clarification?
Actually, in reference to this, and I'm just asking for procedure-wise, I think I remember in-person meetings that the applicant was there and was willing to work out certain stipulations. But what I'm hearing from Alexander is that there was so much community opposition that they would not even want it with the stipulations. Is that what you're saying, Alexandra? So that was my clarification needed, because I know in person, it's a little different. The applicant is usually sitting there and they can talk, but since they are here and if you want to let them speak, that's fine. I just wanted to get clarification on that.
Okay, Trevor, thank you. So go ahead, Mike.
I moved Cameron into the meeting, so Cameron.
Thank you. Okay, Cameron, please.
Hi there.
Hi.
So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have as to the issue that was raised about.
Yeah, the questions about the stipulations, Cameron. Have you've already started operation? Did you have stipulations in place? Are you still willing to work with the community board on further stipulations?
So to be clear, we actually voluntarily chose to wait to open until the last community board meeting so we could try to reach stipulations and make everyone comfortable. So we actually delayed our opening in order to facilitate that conversation. For that reason, we still have yet to open. So the answer to your question is we are absolutely willing to continue to have these discussions, and we've shown that by waiting, and we were hoping last week to get a resolution and be able to operate under that resolution. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, but we're still happy to do so.
Alex, your thoughts?
This will be the third month that we hear them. And if the community board wants to send them back, we've spent considerable time on this. And the residents were really reticent about working to construct stipulations between October and November, but they did. And yes, the applicant, which is included in the resolution, returned a set of stipulations that they said they could agree to, which we worked from during the discussion in November, but we couldn't resolve stipulations that were palatable to everybody, that would keep the business operating the way it is and address what was going on at the business and address what's going on in the community now. Because as much as, and I think you hear from Susan every month about this, as much as businesses may be closing below Houston Street, the issues with respect to noise and people are, if not unabated, worse, right? So all of those—
I don't know if there's an opportunity.
Those complaints, I'm sorry, I'm speaking. Thank you. All of those complaints remain. So those are still things that we're considering. We haven't really denied anything up to this month. In all the months that we've been sitting since we've gone virtual, we did deny this one because we felt it was very big. They may have experience operating or working in different businesses. They have no license experience. We've given them a shot on Houston Street, which is an area which would impact the community much less. We have yet to see how that business is going to operate. That location has a slightly smaller capacity than this location. This location is a very big capacity. I mean, we had all those discussions, including the discussions that they raised about whether or not we should be promoting businesses because we're in a pandemic. So we had all those discussions. I feel like we had them at length. I don't know that we're going to get to the point of resolving with stipulations for this particular application. But if the community—
Alex, if I may interject, Alex, I'm sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but I really, for sake of time and all of the efforts on both hands, I just have to ask Cameron, were you willing to sit down with the members of the community, the people that are complaining, to come to some type of an agreement with them? Because I think that to us is the most important thing, is that the community members are the ones that are being affected by the business, right? And so we want to make sure that they are the ones that are being heard more. And I know that's Alex's whole, her thought process and all of this is to make sure that we're honoring what the community wants.
So we sure were, and we did, and we had a long discussion via phone and via many email exchanges, trying to reach resolution that addressed the community concerns and also allowed us to remain a viable business. So we made lots of compromises, and in good faith, we submitted our SLA application reflecting those compromises, even though even though we didn't reach a resolution with the community board and those community groups couldn't find the middle ground with us, we actually submitted under those compromises to the SLA. So we have been the most flexible and compromising and continue to be open. And just so I'm being clear in terms of stipulations, we're happy to run through what's on paper. I think there was a question of whether we would agree to something. We're happy to confirm yes or no that we would. I don't know, I actually agree with Alex. I don't know how productive it may be to go back and sort of relitigate this in committee from start to finish. But if we want to, if there's a possibility to run through stipulations and we can confirm if we agree, we can certainly do that. And if we want to go back to committee, we can also do that. I actually agree with Alex. We went through that in fairly great detail.
So what are we saying here? Because it's already now 9:45, and we need to make some type of an agreement on this particular item.
Aren't we still asking the question of whether we're going to vote
Yeah,
on it or
I mean,
not? So let's move to
what
that.
I'm asking everyone.
Can we just do that? An up and down vote?
Yeah.
Sorry,
Okay.
sorry, you still have a hand up from David Adams that you never.
Okay, David Adams, really quickly, David, go ahead.
Yeah, basically, at least you just said pretty much what I was going to say, and Mr. Cameron there agreed that it's not going back. I was just going to move the table for a month to come up with a resolution, but it doesn't seem like it's going to happen. So if we deny, they can come back next month if they can get the piece. So let's go on.
There's a tornado going right through Arlington right now.
Thank you, David. Okay, so here we go.
Okay, I'll do roll call. And just a reminder, I guess, that no is you don't want to adopt the current resolution. Yes is you want to adopt the current resolution.
Okay.
All right, David Adams.
Yes.
Yaron Altman.
Abstain.
Jesse Beck.
No.
Dominic Berg. Dominic Berg.
No.
Lee Berman.
I'm voting to deny the applicant. So is that a yes or a no?
That's a yes. Yeah.
It's a yes.
Carlin Chan. Carlin is not here. Jonathan Chu.
No.
David Crane.
I'm sorry, come back to me, please.
Felicia Cruikshank. Felicia Cruikshank. She's no longer here. Okay, thank you. Eric Diaz. Eric Diaz.
He's still on.
Eric, you're muted.
Yes, it's a yes. I'm voting yes.
Alistair Economakis.
No.
Thank you. Shirley Fennessy.
Abstain.
Brian Gillum.
Yes.
Deborah Glass. I don't think she's here. Andrea Gordillo.
No.
Thank you. Herman Hewitt.
Yes.
Trevor Holland.
Yes.
Linda Jones.
Yes.
Valentina Jones.
Yes means no, right?
Yes means you're voting to deny the applicant.
All right, yes.
Okay. Tatiana Jorio.
No.
Lisa Kaplan.
Yes.
Olympia Kazi.
No.
Joseph Kearns.
No.
Michelle Cooper Smith. No. May Lee.
No.
Thank you. Wendy Lee.
No.
Alicia Lewis Coleman.
No.
David Louie.
No.
Helen Liu.
Yes.
Thank you. Michael Moreno.
Yes.
Alexandra Militano.
Yes.
Michael Perlis. Michael Perlis, I know you're there.
Yes, sorry, I thought I was on.
Thank you. No, you're good. Tariq Ramos.
No.
Thank you. Paul Rangel.
No.
Carolyn Ratcliffe.
Yes.
Damaris Reyes.
No.
Richard Ropiak.
Yes.
Thomas Rosa.
No.
Robin Chattel.
Abstain.
Heidi Schmidt.
Yes.
Larissa Schoenberg.
Yes,
Did I finally say your name right?
you did.
All right, good. Clint Smeltzer.
Yes.
Anisha Stephen.
No.
Sandra Strother.
Yes.
Ooh, Josephine Velez.
I apologize. What are we voting yes and no for? I'm so sorry. I got a phone call in between. I'm so sorry. Hello? I can't hear you.
Michelle is muted.
Oh, weird. I got muted. Okay. We are voting on SLA item number 8.
Right. I remember the conversation, right?
Okay. Yes is that you want to accept that resolution to deny. No is that you do not want to accept the resolution to deny.
Yes.
Troy Velez.
No.
Rodney Washington.
Yes.
Kathleen Webster.
Yes.
Jackie Wong.
Yes.
Ricky Wong.
Yes.
Ricky Wong. All right.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for bearing with me. I'll tally this up. Thank you.
I'll vote now.
Shoot, sorry. David, go ahead.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Chair, can we move on while the vote's being tallied?
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I was muted. So while Michelle is tallying that up, Alex, was there another agenda item that we needed to discuss? Alex, are you there?
I do want to say I appreciate the hard work that my committee puts into all of this and the time that they spend on this, whether this particular item, any item, whether they vote for or against an item, because it involves a really long discussion involving community and applicant concerns, technical issues, issues of zoning, issues of history of the location, history of the applicant. So I really appreciate the amount of time that they spend every month, this particular one, 2 months in a row. And I just want to say that.
Thank you, Alex. Okay, Michael, can you go back to the agenda, please? Thank you. Okay, landmarks.
I needed to interrupt. Landmarks did not meet, but I did want to say that after the end of the committee reports, which would be transportation and Paul, will have a report on the vote.
Thank you very much, Linda.
You're welcome.
Land use.
Hi, I have a couple things to report. So we did pass a resolution on the zoning for coastal flood resiliency text amendment. And this is a citywide zoning application and we denied it. However, our resolution does not state the reasons why we denied that. And this text amendment covers many land use areas and is also very technical. And we just didn't have enough time at the land use meeting to go over everything. So I wanted to motion that we refer this topic back to the December land use meeting, just to add the reasoning part. And I wanted to know if anyone has problem with that. See.
Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the next item.
Thank you. And the next item is on the 70 Marbury Street. As you heard from Borough President Gail Brewer, the independent consultant has finished the second round community engagement, and they are working on the final report, which is expected to be released sometime in December. It will be released through a community meeting, so public members can ask follow-up questions to DCAS directly. But the day has not been confirmed yet, and I'll share that information with the community once it is confirmed. And lastly, I just wanted to congratulate Choi Velez, who will be the chair for the Nature Subcommittee meeting, for the Nature Subcommittee. And I look forward to working with you in December. And that's all I have.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I say something? If
Susan?
you just vote on it as it is, you'll be voting on the resolution. Want to change it to refer it back to committee or something?
You mean the motion of it?
Right, yeah, you're just leaving it there. So you haven't voted on anything. So it's still there.
Okay, so David, should I motion to refer the result back to the land use committee? Is that the procedure I should go through?
Yeah, that's what you want to have happen.
Okay.
Move to refer to committee and we take a vote on that.
Okay, do I need someone to second?
Second it.
Thank you.
And now discussion, and then you can actually just say, if there's no objection, then we will deal with that at committee.
If there's no objection, then we'll do it in the committee. Thank you.
So the minutes will reflect referred back to committee.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you, David.
Correct.
Okay.
Decision.
And then the last committee was transportation. And then Linda, would you like for, instead of transportation, for Paul to give the report, the final count? What would you like to do?
He should
Let's
give
your committee report.
Give
Okay. Yes.
transportation first, and we'll hold you all in the suspense a little
Go
longer.
ahead, Paul, and give your transportation report.
I'm sorry, I know I'm the bearer of all the news right now, so I'm just gonna try to run through. I'm gonna try to run through everything. We did pass 3 resolutions 2 weeks ago. The first one be supporting the Houston Street cargo bike corral by the Whole Foods. We did ask for Amazon to. Amazon has committed to working with CB3 to resolve any issues. That is the first resolution we worked on. The second one is the open restaurant situation on Avenue B between 2nd and 4th Street. We do need to make a change in the whereas clause right before the second to last whereas clause. It does say FDNY previously came to Community Board 3 in July of 2020 and September 2020 to express concern that closing parts of Avenue B would lead to delays in their response times as it requires units leaving the firehouse on East 2nd Street between Avenue A and Avenue B. We must change that from Avenue A and Avenue B to be Avenue B and Avenue C. That's the only change. Is there any objection to that change? That's the actual location of the firehouse. We just made that mistake. It was an oversight. I want to thank Lisa Kaplan for catching that earlier this afternoon. That's the only change I want to make there on that resolution. We did ask for DOT to step up their inspections of the restaurants that are operating that program, especially in regards to emergency access, maintenance of the clear emergency access lane, as well as anything else that's going on with the restaurants to make sure the public space isn't going beyond their means and their limits that are prescribed. So that's what we did ask for in that resolution. Our third resolution that we talked about was the bike unit and protected bike lane on Avenue C and East Houston Street proposal. What we did ask for in this was no specific area of support for it one way or another. It was more of, we wanted DOT to come back so they can reach out to the residents and the businesses that would be affected on Avenue C along the route. So understand the changes that would be created by those bike lanes. We did ask for DOT to design the safest possible lanes with as much physical separation from the travel lanes on that narrow stretch of Avenue C between Houston and 4th. Also, DOT should consider creating a separated bike lane on the blocks where they're sandwiched between the moving lane and parked cars. And more importantly, I think the final one, therefore, be further resolved, DOT has committed to Community Board 3 for an update on the design before any type of installation occurs. I'll take any questions on any of the 3 resolutions.
Yes, I see a hand. Whose hand is that? Whose hand?
David Adams.
David. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, I'm just, you put it up at ASCR being involved. Is this going to be a temporary bike lane or is it going to be permanent even after ASCR is completed?
They didn't answer that one way or another. I don't think it's temporary, though. It doesn't look like it, the way they're building this structure out.
Because they're taking away 112 parking spaces, and if it's only to accommodate a temporary situation.
No, I don't think they actually specifically addressed whether or not it was temporary. It looks like it was going to be permanent. We do know it's going to take away several parking spots down in the lower Avenue C area, but we didn't specifically support one way or another. We do ask them if they reach out to a lot of businesses and the communities that would be affected by this, because we know they haven't necessarily done that just yet due to the pandemic and a lot of things going on. So we wanted to make sure that happened.
Yeah, they're having a problem with the handicap spaces. They're getting knocked down more and more, and people spoken to me about that.
We hope they come back before with whatever their new design is after input from the community. Hopefully they should come back to us at some point. I'll take any other questions.
There's one more from Trevor.
So for clarification, Paul, you're saying that they will come back before they implement this design, or you're?
Yes, they have committed to updating us on before the installation.
Okay.
To update us on the design, yes. Any other questions?
Doesn't look like any.
All right, should I go straight to the other report?
Linda?
Please do. Yes, please do, Paul.
All right. Let me switch my notes. So I'm going to speak on behalf of the nominating committee. I do have the final numbers. It was verified by Ellen after I did the first count. Ellen, thank you for doing the second count for me. I want to thank everybody for, actually, it was a pretty seamless process. Only 4 people responded that they had trouble logging in and weren't able to, and were able to submit their submissions via email, and we counted those votes in. So I want to say thank you for that, and thank you for the entire nominating committee for the hard work we've put into this process. And congratulations to all the nominees for the respective offices. So I'm going to start with the treasurer's race. Thomas Rosa received 25 votes. Sandra Strother, 22 votes. There was 1 abstention. Thomas Rosa, congratulations, you're the new treasurer. The assistant secretary, Shirley Fennessy, 44 votes. It's pretty persuasive. 4 abstentions. Shirley, congratulations on being assistant secretary. Michelle Coopersmith, secretary, 46 votes, 2 abstentions. Congratulations on being secretary. Second vice chair, Eric Diaz, 45 votes with 3 abstentions. Congratulations, Eric. First vice chair's race, also hotly contested. Lisa Kaplan with 21 votes. Larissa Schoenberg, 25, 2 abstentions. Congratulations, Larissa. You're the new first vice chair. The chair of the committee of our board, Alicia Lewis Coleman, 32 votes. Michael Marino, 16, no abstentions. Congratulations, and retaining her position as the chair is Alicia Lewis Coleman. And that's all I've got. Congratulations.
Thank you,
Sarah.
Paul. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you,
Problem.
Paul.
Thank you,
committee. Thank you, committee. Thank you.
Guys. Thank you, everybody who
Thank
voted
you, Paul.
for us. I really
Congratulations,
appreciate
Thomas.
you guys justice. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Congratulations, everyone.
Thank you all. I look forward to continually working with all of you. And I want to thank my fellow executive board members who have been with me for this past year, all the hard work that you've put into making sure that we're operating with integrity and visibility. I look forward to working with you further in your committee respectively. And I still will like to call on you from time to time for support and with various issues and matters, because I know you are all very knowledgeable in many walks of your life and your fields. So again, I want to thank you all. I would like to now.
I lost.
Sandra, thank you so much. We have work to be done on your subcommittee, and I look forward to working with you as well, along with Troy as the new chairperson of the NYCHA Section 8 subcommittee. And I'm sure that Troy will need a lot of your assistance, Sandra. Okay. That being said, please don't forget, I'd like for us to have a holiday Zoom. So if you're interested in collectively joining in to have some type of celebration to commemorate our year and to just be festive, please contact me at your earliest convenience so we can do that before the month is out and before the new year comes in. And we have a lot of work to do, so keep rolling up your sleeves because we're not done yet. There's a lot of work to be done in committee. So let's continually work together, and I look forward to our new members joining us and whatever that's going to look like, because many of you have shared very detailed with me about the work that needs to be done. And I look forward to working with all of you. Thank you again, all of you. Thank you so very much for having faith in me to continue this work. We have a motion to adjourn.
Still have to vote.
Oh, we have to vote.
2 votes.
My gosh, I got so excited. Yes, we have to vote. I apologize. Michael, thank you. Michael, thank you. Thank you, Michael. Okay, go ahead.
And it took me a little while, but I finally counted item number 8 from SLA. If you saw me squinting, the motion the current resolution will pass with 24 yeses, 20 noes, 3 abstentions, and 3 absent members. And now I will go into the final roll call vote. David Adams.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Exec abstain, yes on everything else.
Okay.
Sorry, Michelle, at my training with the borough president, it said that the absentees were counted as noes. The people who are present but are voting as absentee, in my training, it says that it counts as no.
Yes, an abstention counts as a no.
So yeses outnumber all the other votes.
Right, so it's still, so yeses must outnumber absent people and abstentions?
Yes. Read out the number of the 3 types. What are the counts?
So there were 24 yeses, 20 noes, 3 abstentions, and 3 absent.
Okay, so ignore the absent. There were 23 votes other than the 24 yeses?
Yes.
Okay, then it won by 1 vote.
Okay. This is all in the sheet, and Ed is better at it than me, so he'll put it in the final minutes. Okay, your own Altman.
Present not voting, transportation 2, 3, 4, economic development 3 and 5. I work for city DOT.
Okay, wait, hold on. Sorry, one more time with the ECDev.
Sorry, there's a lot of DOT this one. Transportation 2, 3, 4, and then economic development 3 and 5 as well.
Okay, and then yes on everything else?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, Jesse Beck.
Yes, no on SLA number 8, if we're doing that again, but we already voted, so yes.
Okay, Dominic Berg.
Yes.
Lee Berman.
Yes.
Carlin Chan. Oh, it's still not here. Okay, Absent. Jonathan Chu.
Yes.
David Crane.
Yes.
Felicia Cruikshank. Okay, absent. Eric Diaz. Eric Diaz. Oh, he just disappeared. Okay, I'll come back to him. Alistair Economakis.
Yes.
Thank you. Shirley Fennessy.
Yes.
Ryan Gillum.
Yes.
Deborah Glass. Okay, absent. Andrea Gordillo.
Yes.
Herman Hewitt.
Yes.
Trevor Holland.
Yes.
Linda Jones.
Yes.
Valentina Jones.
Yes.
Tatiana Jorio.
Yes.
Lisa Kaplan.
Yes.
Olympia Kazi.
Yes.
Thank you. And thank you for educating me before. Joseph Kearns.
Yes.
Oh, Eric, is that you?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes,
All right,
project.
no worries. Thank you. Michelle Cooper Smith. Yes. May Lee.
Yes.
Thank you. Wendy Lee.
Yes.
Thank you. Alicia Lewis Coleman.
Yes.
David Louis.
Yes.
Thank you. Ellen Liu.
Yes.
Thank you. Michael Marino.
Yes.
Alexander Militano.
Yes.
Michael Perlis.
Yes.
Tariq Ramos.
Yes.
Paul Rangel.
Yes.
Paul
sorry.
Rangel.
Yes,
Thank you.
sorry.
I spent so much time praising you, making my life hard. Carolyn Ratcliffe. Carolyn Ratcliffe.
Yes.
Damaris Reyes.
Yes.
Richard Ropiak.
Yes.
Thomas Rosa.
Yes.
Robin Chattel.
Yes.
Thank you. Heidi Schmidt.
Yep.
Larissa Schoenberg.
Yes.
Clint Smeltzer.
Yes.
Anisha Stephen.
Yes.
Sandra Strother.
Yes.
Josephine Velez.
Yes.
Troy Velez.
Yes.
Rodney Washington.
Yes.
Kathleen Webster.
Yes.
Jackie Wong.
Yes.
Ricky Wong.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Good night and happy Thanksgiving,
Now,
everybody.
is there any old?
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving. Happy
Enjoy, be
Thanksgiving.
safe, be well,
Thanksgiving, everyone.
stay well.
Peace.
Thanksgiving.